All right, we're live. Let's go.
Live, baby.
What's going on, everyone? Day 2 of NFL free agency.
It's good.
Just after 10 o'clock in the morning. We're a little behind schedule today, but hey, we're in no rush over here.
Hey, it's okay. Being behind schedule is not a bad idea.
Just going live up on Instagram now, getting some more people in here, but I think today's going to be a little bit more of a different stream than yesterday, probably a little bit more relaxed. Stuff's going to be happening throughout, I hope anyways. Unlike yesterday, it was nighttime. What's going on over there, Kat? You get the Instagram up and running?
Yeah, I'm just adding your thing here.
All right, perfect.
Good morning, everyone. I'm trying to link our thing here, but if it works, pin comment. Okay, there. Perfect. There you go.
All right, what's going on, everyone? Welcome.
Day two.
We're live on YouTube if you guys want to watch over there. We're also live on Instagram, so hop in wherever you want.
We're live. YouTube. If you guys want to ask your questions in there, come all over to our YouTube because it's better. We can see the
chat. Yeah, we can't really see the Instagram chat from there. So if you want questions, if you want to chat with us, hop in on our YouTube. We're live right now. Kat, what's going on, man? It's not really that early in the morning anymore.
No, not 10 a.m.
It was a tough morning for me this morning. I'm not gonna lie. Now that I got my pick me up, I'm not gonna tell you what's in my coffee mug today, but I'm glad that I got that bright and early in the morning because I was just a mess getting out of bed this morning.
Tired. Sleep is for the weak.
Yeah.
Well, there's still a lot of good free agents remaining. You got Teron Armstead, Williams, Matthew, Von Miller, Chandler Jones, Odell, who's obviously expected to return to the Rams, Allen Robinson, Randy Gregory, Jameis Winston, Gilmore, and Rasul Douglas. Some decent names.
Hey, was he a Pro Bowler? I know he had a really good season last year.
He had some big plays for Green Bay last year.
Yeah. To me, the big one, and we talked about him all last night on stream, Teron Armstead. He's the big fish, and it's just such a premium position. The one concern about him is if you really, really read into him, he's had a tough time staying healthy in his career. But yeah, it should be an interesting game. We got some questions in the chat, which is phenomenal. You also mentioned Tyrann Mathieu. Pretty much as soon as we ended stream last night,
the Chiefs signed
Justin Reed, which I thought was a phenomenal contract. So that was great. But let's head over to the chat a little bit. Maya Productions comes in. Thank you for your message. What are we feeling about Deshaun? And he's sort of alluding to that he may be going to the Panthers. Listen, I thought it was between the Panthers and the Saints, and the Browns just sort of came out of nowhere last night, which was crazy. I don't know. It seemed like they were going again with Baker. What are your thoughts on that one?
I think we're going to see Deshaun Watson moved today. To be honest with you, I think he's got his meeting with the Browns in the early afternoon, if I believe. So I could see him getting moved this afternoon. I personally still am holding out for the Carolina. I think the Panthers just make the most sense for him. But I don't know. I don't think the Browns got a real shot. It sounds like Houston's sort of going to send him to the NFC. They don't want anything to do with him. But you never know. If the Browns wow him away, I just don't know if they're going to want Baker. It's the same situation with Philadelphia for me. It's like, okay, you could offer them Baker or you could offer them Jalen Hurts, but does Houston really want?
Well, I don't think they want any quarterback back, and that was all being reported when it was Tua and the Dolphins in there. To me, Houston, the goal of this is to just not necessarily tank. You can see what you have in Davis Mills, but you want to essentially go to next year's draft when you got a better quarterback class and attack from there. What I look at this saga is, to me, it's all like every team's going to give you the same return. Everyone knows what the price is. 3 or 4 first-round picks. So it's just down to Deshaun Watson. Where does he want to go? Because the Saints, the Panthers, and let's say if the Browns are truly in it, like we heard last night, it's all going to be the same offer from everyone. So that's pretty interesting there. We got some other questions. Is Marcus Williams going to be a Lion? And that's interesting because the Lions are, I wouldn't say they're quite in the stage of their rebuild where they're ready to spend very big in free agency, and I think they've been really smart. I love the DJ Chark signing, and I think that just makes Jacksonville look even worse with what they're doing because I think they would have just been better off had they held on to him. But Marcus Williams to line, it addresses a need They definitely need to bolster that defense. I like what they're building on the offensive side of the ball, especially with the offensive line. I don't know. It could be a situation where they give him some money, but
the Lions are a team that they're underwhelming for the most part, in my opinion. I thought that they would be more aggressive in trying to spend money because, I mean, the roster clearly isn't there. So usually what you see with, I mean, I guess they're sticking to a pretty good, at the end of the day, not spending a lot of money in free agency is still a good philosophy, and that remains a good philosophy. You look at all the top teams, obviously the Chiefs just made a signing Justin Reed, but that's not even crazy big money, right?
It was just a little over $10 million.
Like if you look at the teams that are spending the most money on day one, like you look at the Jags. I mean, the Jags usually do this every single year. Let's be fair here. Like we mentioned last night in the last night's show, the Jags would have been the top spenders last year had New England just not broke a ton of records in terms of negotiating contracts on day one. But it's nothing new for the Jags. The Jags love to spend money. And look, down the road, what tends to happen 2-3 years down the road, the biggest signings of this year tend to be free agency again, right?
Exactly. And it's just like I was saying this last night. We're going to look back from now, 2-3 years down the road. Half of these contracts are going to be either bad contracts or they're going to be in the dead cap area of the teams, which just no one wants.
Absolutely.
Speaking of the Jags, Christopher Fisher says in the chat, Jags just released Miles Jack.
And Millie Cooker just signed with the Cowboys. Wow, I thought he was for sure going to be gone.
All right, get on it. That's look at that. See, I never know whether to trust the chat because
they always troll.
Free agency, we did a live stream, and everyone. Sorry, not free agency. The trade deadline, we did a live stream, and everyone knows how those go. It's all hype. Nothing happens. And the chat was telling us, "Oh, Allen Robinson got traded. This guy got traded," and it was all not true. But you know what? The chat's starting to build some credibility. There it is. Daniel Flegerman says Hooker 2 years, $8 million with the Cowboys. I think that's a pretty good deal of business.
Same with me. I thought we would be kind of priced out of it. And you know what? Malik Hooker, for the most part, had a very, very good season with the Cowboys last year. Like an underrated season because, we spent some money in the safety room. We got Curse, who obviously outplayed his contract big time. But Kazee and sort of, oh my God, why am I blanking on his name now?
Keanu Neal.
Keanu Neal was underwhelming big time. But Malik Hooker definitely was one of the guys that when I would watch the Cowboys, like he was constantly making plays. He didn't play too much at the beginning of the year, but as his role started to expand, he made a good name for himself. And you know what? This is a guy too. Remember when he was coming out of Ohio State a few years ago, was touted as a very, very high prospect. Just had some unlucky bounces with injuries, but I like this deal for the Cowboys.
Yeah, it's pretty good business. Anytime you're a good team and you're holding on to your players, I think that's a good sign. Let's head back to the chat over here. Swamp Source 318. He was in here yesterday, so thank you so much for joining again. We appreciate that. If Watson goes to the Browns, better division in your opinion, the AFC West or the AFC North? That would be crazy because I wouldn't say the AFC North is a better division right now, but it's super competitive. Like I genuinely believe all four of those teams, even the Steelers. Laugh at me if you want. I think the Steelers. When you have Mike Tomlin, when you have that defense, they're going to win games next year. I think that they can be sort of a pain for the other three teams. I would still probably say the AFC West would better. You got Mahomes, Herbert, Russell Wilson now, even Derek Carr. There's three potentially top 5 quarterbacks, and Derek Carr is hovering around that 10-12 area. And the AFC North, I don't trust the teams quite as much. If we look back last year, that division crazy inconsistent from a lot of those teams. That's a good question. The AFC is getting crazy, crazy strong. This one comes in from Daniel Fragmenti, and I think you'd be the best guy to answer this. He says, how do you feel the Cowboys are doing? As a Cowboys fan, I'm on the fence. Obviously, you're a big Cowboys fan. So,
okay, so the thing with the Cowboys is that I guess I'm in the minority here. I, for one, agree with the Amari Cooper release. And this is coming from a big-time Amari guy. Like, Amari was... And he still might be one of my favorite receivers in the league just because I respect his game. He's the type of receiver that I would want on my team. The only thing is at the end of the day, the NFL is a business, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, business decisions result in guys who are making a little bit too much. I know now it's hard to say that with Christian Kirk making $18 million, but at the end of the day, the Cowboys drafted CeeDee Lamb to eventually become that receiver one role. And he's shown enough in 2 seasons that you should, okay, you know what? If we're going to have a receiver one and use him in that way, let's go with Lamb. He's cheaper. And then they got Michael Gallup. They're allowed to re-sign Dalton Schultz, and it frees up their cap space. And at the end of the day, Amari Cooper is good, but it seems he's playing with some sort of nagging problem more often than not, right? And that's just it's just the harsh reality when it comes to him nowadays.
Yeah, there's an old cliche that, the best ability is availability, and he hasn't had like crazy crippling injuries, but it just feels like he's not always 100%, or there's something nagging, and then he's not really himself. And I think it was a bit of a frustrating season. We'll head back to the chat here, though. Guys, this is great. Keep the questions coming. This is a ton of fun.
Everyone in our Instagram, we are live on YouTube. So if you guys are asking questions in there, unfortunately, we won't be able to see them. So if you want us to answer your questions, come on YouTube. I try to link it down there, but I don't know if you guys are going to be able to click it. But it's simple. Catch the Blitz on YouTube.
This one comes in from Seahawks Right 12 and says, I'm a diehard Seahawks fan. I want to get Chandler Jones. Now, to me, that's crazy interesting, and I want to ask you kind of a counter question, because you can help me out in the chat. I'm not necessarily confused, but I want to know, like, honestly, what are your expectations from the Seahawks next year? Because you lost Russell Wilson, you bring in Drew Lock, you now have that first-round pick, you got another first-round pick next year. Is it going to be a complete rebuild? Because to me, Chandler Jones, he's a great player. It definitely fills a need for the Seahawks in terms of getting a big pass rusher, but is it really where you want to go as a franchise right now? Because maybe you're not going to be competing in a real tough NFC West. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Asher Mayer says, when are we getting a mock draft? We got to do maybe a mock draft live stream later on in the offseason. That would be a ton of fun. I think we just released the mock draft on our Instagram a couple weeks ago, or not a couple weeks ago, a couple days ago, just before free agency. So if you want to check that out
there,
you can check that out. Ruben did a great job with it. A lot of questions coming in. Henry Smith says, what do you think about Devontae Adams? Of course, he said that he doesn't want to play on the franchise tag. He's not going to do that.
He's getting the Brinks truck is what Devontae Adams is getting. I think, in terms of a winner from yesterday, Devontae Adams is the biggest winner. Absolutely was the biggest winner. Because he saw that Christian Kirk deal, and before we mentioned on yesterday's show, they sort of the Packers had that edge in contract negotiations, saying like, oh, you look at the Hopkins deal, that's sort of the outlier, right?
Yeah, I mean, no one was really touching the Hopkins deal before, but now that Christian Kirk comes into the equation, Devontae Adams is already going to get $20 million on the franchise tag. The Aaron Rodgers deal that just happened, I know everyone's going to come over here and say, the cap's a myth and all that, but the Aaron Rodgers deal actually freed up space.
It did, yes.
Plus Darius Smith and I think it was Billy Turner that got released yesterday. So I think that's going to be. I think he's going to get a big contract. I don't know if it's going to happen soon. It might wait for a while. Is there a deadline for when he has to sign before he has to play on the franchise tag?
July 15th.
July 15th. So there's still a little bit of time for him. James is not a fan of the Christian Kirk deal. We talked about the Christian Kirk deal for maybe 2 hours last night. We share that same feeling with you, James.
It was a long time we talked about that deal.
Seahawks, our life 12 comes back and says, we're not rebuilding, we're just retooling. It definitely hurt to leave Russ and B-Wags, but I think if we get someone like Jameis or Malik Willis, we will be just fine. That's interesting. To me, how I feel about the Seahawks, it's just such a tough division. I think Jameis has a lot to give still. I think that'd be an exciting signing, especially with the talent that the Seahawks have at receiver, DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett. Malik Willis, I think, would also take a little bit of time. To me, I think the goal for the Seahawks is just going to be, be back to the top when sort of the other teams in the division sort of go on the decline.
Absolutely.
Like the, like the Rams and the 49ers. But yeah, interesting time to be a Seahawks fan for sure. They're one of the teams I'm intrigued to see next year, and I'll put the Jaguars in that category. So for different reasons, of course.
100%. And I think I agree with that. We mentioned yesterday, if I was the Seahawks, I'm just not driving through the storm. Yeah. Just like if I was the Raiders right now, I feel like they're sort of in the same situation. Obviously, the Raiders still have Derek Carr, who is a capable quarterback and could net you something nice on trade. But, I mean, I don't know if they decide to go that route, but unfortunately, that's just the state of the divisions right now. They got 3 very good teams in each division, and it's just going to be hard. Was it someone said, "Oh, they want the Seahawks to sign Chandler Jones." Is that why?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, like I don't know if that makes sense for Seattle, right? Like you're just going to be forking up a lot of money for an old. I know, and that's sort of the direction that Seattle's been going, especially yesterday. They're signing these sort of aging veterans that I don't know. It just sort of counteracts what they did with Russ because they wanted to go into a rebuild, and now they're paying all these old kids. I don't know, to be honest. I don't really know what the direction the Seahawks are going in.
James Welfare comes in and says, will the Jets stop sucking? I love this question because yesterday we were talking about winners, and I was saying that I think the Jets had a great day yesterday. They kept Braxton Berrios, who was a exciting player, but for me, the main thing is that Laken Tomlinson signing, and I know it was a little bit pricey, but if you look at what the Jets have built on the offensive line now, you've got two strong tackles, and one's a cornerstone left tackle in Mekhi Becton. You got George Fant on the other side. Then at guard, you got Elijah Vera-Tucker, and then you got who they signed yesterday, Laken Tomlinson.
Yes.
That's like, you're talking about a young quarterback. That's a great offensive line that you could give him. So will the Jets stop sucking? Again, and this is the theme in the entire AFC, it seems like every division is tough. For the last couple of years, the Jets have just been, getting swept in that division. I don't think they're going to be better than the Bills. I don't think that they're going to be better than the Patriots. I don't think they're going to be better than the Dolphins either. But I think we can see some serious progression in year 2 of Zach Wilson that gives us a little bit of optimism for the future to tell us that, hey, maybe these Jets aren't going to be in the basement for much longer, because I sort of like the direction that they're going, especially in the offensive side of the ball.
They're under good. Like Joe Douglas is fantastic.
And James says they need a wide receiver. We talked about that last night in the sense that they have that pick in the first round. I think Drake London could be in play, but if you also look at what they have, they have Elijah Moore, who I'm personally really, really high on. I think he has wide receiver 1 potential. Corey Davis is in there. It's not a great contract, but he's a capable wide receiver in a certain role. Like they have some players. I do agree. They need that star in there. All right, a lot of questions coming in about your Cowboys, and it seems like everyone's waiting for a star signing. Bobby Wagner, Marcus Williams, even Tyrann Mathieu in there. Ashton St. Germain says, how do you think the Cowboys defense will look after free agency?
I think, from what I understand, is that they're trying hard to re-sign Randy Gregory at this time and Jaron Curtis. They just signed Malik Hooker, so their defense is, for the most part, is going to remain the same, which is good. That DeMarcus Lawrence deal was a very, very good contract for both sides. Very rare to find a guy that has that. I know DeMarcus Lawrence has had his fair share of injury issues, but when he's on the field, there's no doubt about it. He's one of the better, if not maybe close to the top when it comes to all-around defensive ends, stopping the run, getting to the passer, just being a force on that line. And for myself as a Cowboy fan as well, I would like to see the Cowboys try and either in the draft or free agency find sort of a big run-stuffing defensive tackle.
Yeah. Someone
that just commands attention in the center, because I think if you have Randy Gregory, if you have that big defensive tackle, and you have DeMarcus Lawrence on the outside, it allows you to get more creative, which Dan Quinn loves to do with Micah Parsons, right? You can free him up, you can get him to play Mike, you can get him to play Will, you can get him to play inside, like right outside. You can rush the passer, attack gaps, and that's what I think Dan Quinn likes to do with Micah Parsons. So I think that's sort of the direction they're going to. For the most part, though, the defense is going to be the same, and they're going to be a very good defense, right? Like they have playmakers on that side of the ball.
Yeah, there's one great question in here about Jimmy Garoppolo being traded today. I actually predicted last night that he would get traded today to the Colts, or if it's not him, I think maybe Marcus Mariota. The Colts pull the trigger on him. I do think the Colts are going to find their quarterback sooner rather than later. I'd love to hear from the chat, everyone. Maybe give your prediction of who's lining up under center for the Colts next year, because I think Jimmy Garoppolo seems to be the guy so far. Guys, this is phenomenal in the chat. Keep them coming. Some great questions. And once again, if you're tuning in on the Instagram, make sure to head over to YouTube if you want to ask us questions. This one comes in from Ethan Brown, and he wants to know about free agent running back. It's kind of a quiet day yesterday aside from Chase Edmonds and Cordell Patterson. I think because running backs are such a luxury, a lot of times teams will just wait on them and see what value they can get in the draft, or if they can just find someone cheap in free agency. But there are still some pretty solid players. Cordell Patterson's a really interesting one. He had this breakout season last year. I don't know, what running backs are you looking at, and where do you think potential landing spots could be there?
I love Cordell Patterson. He's a one of my favorite players. I think I've been a fan of his dating back to his years in Minnesota. When he was drafted, I loved him in college. I thought he was a little bit gadgety for the way that the NFL was at the time. But now, in today's NFL, there's a real role for him. Like, you're seeing guys, the way the NFL is going now is those sort of gadgety, I use them in quotes because that's what they were considered just 5 years ago, right? They're gadget guys. It's hard to find exact roles. They're sort of being implemented. Like, offenses are being built around those guys, right? And you're seeing roles for Cordell Patterson last year. Like, who would have thought a receiver turned running back would have the effect that he had? And Atlanta was a poor team, but he was one of the bright spots of that team, him and Kyle Pitts, right? I thought Cordell Patterson was perfect in Miami just because I saw him in that Deebo Samuel role with Mike McDaniel. I thought he was perfect. Chase Edmonds, great running back too, but I think that in terms of pure fit, Cordell Patterson was a little bit better. I don't know. I could see him going to, unfortunately, he's probably not going to go to a great team just because teams, at the end of the day, the position that he plays, and he's not young, he's not going to get a crazy big deal unless it's with a subpar team. But I'm intrigued by Patterson. I like what he offers if I was a team with a need at running back.
Yeah, it's crazy a team takes that long to, or not even a team, the league takes that long to figure out how to use a guy to his best. And, you know, we saw Deebo Samuel, who isn't a wide receiver, he's not a running back, he's a wide back, come into the league and just take it by storm. And I think that sort of position has brought out a good role for Cordell Patterson. But yeah, there's a lot of good running backs. I don't think there's going to be a lot of movement. I think that's a position that sort of we see later on in the free agency window. So many great questions in here. This one comes in from Mr. T. What's going on, Mr. T? And they're asking, who's winning free agency so far? Gives a little nod to the Chargers. And predictions to where Bobby Wagner goes and ends up. We spoke briefly about this last night. I would love to see Bobby Wagner in Denver. I just think it's the perfect option. They also have Alexander Johnson and Josie Jewell, who are both free agents. So there's definitely a need at inside linebacker that they could fill with that signing. He reunites with Russell Wilson. It's a competitive team. I think that would be the best fit. In terms of my winner of free agency so far, I guess the Chargers is the easy answer. I also like what the Chiefs did yesterday with that Justin Reed signing. I thought that was a really, really good signing. It's still early. Listen,
it's
still a lot of players that are going to be signed. But I guess if you look at the clear-cut winner right now, the Chargers now have a star at every single level of their defense. Their offensive line is an A or a B at every single position. Offensive line, wide receiver, running back, and of course, when you have Justin Herbert, you're going to be competitive. I was shocked that the Chargers didn't make the playoffs last year, and I think we're not going to be able to say that for a very long time because this looks like a playoff team for the next several years.
I agree. I think the Chargers. That's the easy answer, right? Is you go say, well, the Chargers are the clear-cut winners, quote-unquote winners of free agency so far. But a team that is flying under the radar, we've touched upon them in the past, is the Jets.
Yeah. I
think the Jets have been fantastic. Lake and Tomlinson, say what you want. If you want to say they overpaid them, they overpaid them. But they saw a need. They saw that their offensive line, they got their young guy. They don't want another young quarterback to go to waste because of whatever other reasons. But offensive line is huge, huge, huge for a young quarterback to succeed. And I think Joe Douglas, with his time in Philadelphia, seeing how they built that offensive line, he's bringing that philosophy to New York.
Yeah, they saw what they did with Sam Darnold and how it was just a complete disaster. And I think they're really, really putting an emphasis on doing it differently and just putting their quarterback in a better position. What are you getting over there? A little Stephon Gilmore news?
So Stephon Gilmore, according to Connor J. Hughes of The Athletic, he is saying that there's 3 teams in on Stephon Gilmore: the Jets, the 49ers, and the Raiders. So
interesting.
The 49ers is a little bit interesting to me personally because they had just signed.
They just spent big.
Right on Tre'Davious Ward last night. So maybe they were showing interest, but they probably backed out at the last second. But regardless, the Jets, talk about the Jets and the Raiders, for an example. I think those are 2 outstanding fits. And Stephon Gilmore, say what you want about his age and him being in Carolina, which, Carolina, I don't mean to get sidetracked here, but remember how everyone was raving about their secondary, how they had like 4 top safeties, or 4 top corners?
Jeremy Chin, and then J.C. Horn got hurt, and they brought
Gilmore and Dante Jackson, and then now their only corner that's really on their roster right now is J.C. Horn.
Yeah, well,
right?
Dante Jackson's a free agent too.
Yeah.
The Raiders, to me, is super interesting with Stephon Gilmore because they brought in Casey Hayward, who everyone sort of thought was towards the back half of his career last season, and he just had this crazy, crazy good year. He comes in there this year, now he's a free agent, so Stephon Gilmore would even be an upgrade on that. And the Raiders have needed we saw what happened with Dalen Arnett. We don't need to talk about that draft class for the Raiders, but they need a big-time corner, especially when you're going up against those three quarterbacks in your division. Stephon Gilmore would be a home run signing for the Raiders. We'll head back to the chat here. Henry Smith wants to know, what team do we support?
I'm unfortunately a Cowboys fan, and he's unfortunately a Dolphins fan.
Yeah, I'd say you got to tune into our podcast every week because we love to chat about our teams on there all the time. Yes, I'm a Dolphins fan. He's a Cowboys fan. Combined, we've seen maybe, how many playoff wins have you seen, Dallas?
A few.
I've never seen Miami win a playoff win in my life.
I started watching. The first year I watched the Cowboys was 2009. I was 10 years old, and the Cowboys were playing Brett Favre and the Vikings, and I was pumped. I was like, the Cowboys are in the playoffs. I was just 10 years old. My dad's a big Cowboys fan, so that's how I sort of became one. Unfortunately, like I always say, he couldn't have supported any other team. I gotta be a Cowboys fan, and so I'm watching that game, and we lost, I believe, 36-3. We got dominated.
Is that the year that Brett Favre then went through the crossbody and interception
against
the
championship game? Yes, yeah. I believe that was the Bountygate game, or no?
The Bountygate year. I don't know if anyone's watched Home Team with Sean Payton on Netflix, but if you haven't, I'm not going to tell you to do so because it's not the best use of an hour and a half. We'll head back here. Dom Strong's asking, what do you think the best fit for Allen Robinson is? He's a really interesting case because this is a guy that last year would have fetched a ton of interest. He got tagged, sort of had a down year. I was saying the Colts last night. I still think that would be kind of cool. I need to see who their quarterback is, though, first. But I just think from a roster perspective, the Colts have a lot of areas offensively that they could add some star power. And I think Allen Robinson would really help if you look at their wide receiver position. Michael Pittman kind of had a breakout last year, but I don't know if he's...
Breaking news, Randy Gregory back to the Cowboys. So if there's any Cowboys in there, around $13 million a year, which is a great deal for Randy
pretty good.
Gregory.
With how he performed, if you can get that production that he had last year, $13 million is a great contract for Randy Gregory. So there it is, breaking news on the live. Randy Gregory.
Wow, the Cowboys, you know what? For the most part, I like to chirp this team. Look, it's obviously it's not a free agent, but that's a big name. Randy Gregory's and now you have Randy Gregory, DeMarcus Lawrence back. Those are two impact players. And look, I think the Cowboys are shaping up to do exactly what they did in the draft last year, but on the offensive side of the ball. Offensive line, receiver, tight end potentially if they don't sign Dalton Schultz to a long-term deal. It's a good deal, I think.
What I say to you before we started the stream today, the good teams often just sit tight, they retain their players, and they build the team through the they build the team through the draft. Ashton is pretty pumped up about that deal. Obviously, a Cowboys fan in there. There's a lot of great questions in here. This one comes from Quentin Marksbury. Quentin, what's going on, man? Could Teron Armstead sign with the Bengals? Now, this was my number one landing spot for him. But then they went and spent a pretty good amount dedicated to the offensive line yesterday. The Alex Kappa deal was record-breaking, 30 seconds into the legal tampering window. Don't know how that's considered legal tampering when you get a deal done that quickly with a guy. But, I mean, they definitely bolstered their offensive line yesterday. I know they were a team that had a lot of cap space. You still have to factor in that you got to sign the draft class. Maybe they want to make some small improvements throughout their roster in other areas. I'd be pretty happy if I'm a Bengals fan with what they did with the offensive line yesterday. You still got, Jonah Williams at tackle who plays Teron Armstead's position, and he's still a young player.
He's no Teron Armstead, but he's still a player, which makes sense to the sense that it's like, okay, if we're going to spend money there, but we already have a guy that's cheaper and he's young too, right? Like, obviously, you're hoping he'd be able to develop into a guy like Teron Armstead, but even if he plays at half the production of that, he's going to cost much, much less, right?
Exactly. So I don't know. I'm honestly kind of stumped about where Teron Armstead's going to end up. Obviously, I'm holding out some hope for the Dolphins. They had a big day yesterday, but they didn't address the offensive line, and that's the number one need going into this next season. So I would put it around maybe a 30% chance he winds up in Cincinnati. I still think there's an outside shot, but now to me they're not the favorite anymore. But yeah, that's a definitely a great question. Adam Richmond's asking, who do you think the Commanders sign? To me, I'll put the Commanders with those other teams I was talking about earlier. That I just think that I'm really intrigued to see what they're like next year. There's a lot of mixed opinions on the Carson Wentz trade. Obviously, you ask them who they're going to sign. The fact that they traded for Wentz really hurts their ability to now go out and sign free agents because he has such a high cap hit. But if I look at where this team is offensively, their offensive line was a top 10 unit last year. It was phenomenal. You got to retain Charles Leno. To me, that's the number one priority. He was great last year. Running back, you got Antonio Gibson. Wide receiver and tight end, you got Logan Thomas, Terry McLaurin, and Curtis Samuel, who I'll put him in that Cordell Patterson, Deebo Samuel type group where he's just a versatile weapon. And he had a tough year last year with injuries. But I think if you can get the best out of him, he's a really exciting player. So offensively, to me, Washington, they don't really have to do a whole lot. I'd personally just look at some depth signings, maybe at linebacker or in the secondary. They released Landon Collins, so maybe add some safety help.
That's right, Landon Collins is a free agent.
Yeah,
forgot about that. And he was an impact player for Washington last year.
Well, I don't think he ever lived up to his contract, but he's definitely still a good player for them. Maybe we should put him on the free agency track.
But the defensive turnaround towards the back half of the year, if there's a Commander fan in there, I think he can agree with me. Landon Collins was a big factor in the turnaround of Washington last year when they started to pick up. The defense started to play much better. Obviously, it's hard to say that because they did lose Chase Young, but they were good, the defense started to pick up through the back half of the year, and Landon Collins was in my opinion, a big part of that.
Yeah. Yeah, Berto's coming in with the Randy Gregory news. We got that. It's out on Instagram, $13 million a year. I think we both sort of feel that that's good business. Would love to hear some thoughts from.
I think Randy Gregory's an awesome player. There's not a lot of people that can bend like Randy Gregory over the edge like that. I mean, and the fact that the Cowboys are able to now retain DeMarcus Lawrence and Randy Gregory. Hey, I sat here on our podcast just a few weeks ago, and I was like, you know what? I think the Cowboys might be going into, they don't want to admit it, but almost like a quote unquote soft rebuild. But I caught it. But I guess I was wrong. I don't know. They seem to be sort of retooling. I know a lot of people have some sour opinions regarding the Amari Cooper deal, but look, if Amari Cooper's still on the roster, they can't do things like this, right? So that's the fact of the matter. It allows them to keep majority of their guys.
Adam Richmond comes back, the Commanders fan, and he's not necessarily disagreeing with you, but he's just saying that at safety, Landon Collins wasn't too great. You also have Cameron Curl at safety. He says he was almost more valuable playing in the box as a linebacker for Landon Collins. But Adam, I'd love to hear from you. Sort of, I know you guys don't have a lot of cap space, but what's your dream scenario for the Commanders this offseason? Where do you think you should bolster
5 years, $70 million? So the full details of the Randy Gregory deal is a 5-year deal, $70 million. That includes $28 million guaranteed. So what is that? 70 over 5. That's
$14 million.
$14 million a year. So guaranteed money is only $28 million.
How's that for some math?
That's a pretty good contract. That's not a lot of guaranteed money, and I mean, I don't know. In my opinion, that's a good deal.
Yeah,
it's a very good deal.
I mean, it's less than what Emmanuel Ogba got yesterday, and I thought that was a great contract. And Randy Gregory put up pretty similar production. I know he's not the main pass rusher. He helps that he has DeMarcus Lawrence, even though he was hurt at times last year. But still, I think that's a pretty good deal for a guy who was very, very productive last year. It's a big commitment as well. Dom Strong comes in and says, do you think Hutchinson is better than Kayvon Thibodeau? And what do you think about Kyle Hamilton? Draft question. This is great. We haven't talked about the draft much this week because of all this movement. But listen, again, I'll preface this. I'm no draft expert by any means, but from where I see it with Kayvon Thibodeau, Aiden Hutchinson, I honestly think Kayvon Thibodeau might have a higher ceiling. He just looks like just a dominant athlete. And to me, the one concern, and I think he really worked hard to clear this up during the Combine week when he did all his media interviews, is the whole work ethic, commitment thing. And he did a phenomenal job with his answers, trying to rewrite that narrative with NFL GMs. Honestly, I like both. I really like both prospects, and I think no matter who you are, if you're the Lions or if you're the Texans, and you end up with one of these guys, or who knows, one of them might even be in play with the Jaguars now that they bolstered their offensive line throughout free agency. I'd be happy with them. They're both guys who are going to go on to have great NFL careers. Kyle Hamilton is maybe the most intriguing.
He's a baller.
He is phenomenal, but it's the fact that when do we ever see such a high premium on safeties?
Exactly.
A year ago, the first safety drafted was Javon Holland.
Exactly.
He went on to have a Pro Bowl caliber type season, but Miami didn't take him until the 34th overall pick, early second round. Trayvon Merrick went a couple picks later. Actually, I think maybe Tyson Campbell. I know he's more of a defensive back, but the Jaguars took him as well. So Kyle Hamilton, that's really, really interesting because the teams that are picking in the top 10 all have much bigger needs than the safety position. That being said, he's such a good player. Maybe he's just too good to pass on. One team's going to fall in love with him, I'll tell you that. He'll go in the top 10, maybe even the top 5 because he's that special of a player. Quentin Marksbury comes back in and asks, does Seattle take Malik Willis at 9?
YouTube. I see people asking questions in the Instagram live. We're answering all your questions on YouTube. So if you want your questions answered, come over on our YouTube.
What do you think, Kat? Quentin's asking, does Seattle take Malik Willis at 9? I mean, they have Drew Lock in there now. I'd personally wait a year, see what Lock can give you, and it's a much better quarterback class than the year after, and maybe target someone there.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to do it. I think I would, if I was the Seahawks, I would not force draft a quarterback just because it's a need, right? I, for one, don't think there's a starting caliber quarterback in this class. I don't know if that's a bold prediction or a bold opinion. I'm just unaware. How I see it is if Malik Willis, out of all the handful of quarterbacks that are in the draft, probably has the potential to maybe start in the NFL, but even he has to go to like the perfect situation, right? So if I'm Seattle and I traded Russell Wilson just to draft Malik Willis, I don't know if that's the direction that I would go in. I would just sort of play it off, get a top pick next year, let Drew Lock ride off, because everyone knows who Drew Lock is. Seattle's probably going to win maybe 1, 2, 3 games next year. Maybe. They're going to be a bad team.
I don't know if
no, they're going to be bad.
The Seahawks fan is still in here that we were talking with later. If he is, he's going to come for your head right now because he was pretty confident that they were going to be back. I don't know. I'm more so share your sentiment. I don't think that they're going to be great next year.
Hey, I don't mean to. I'm just
no. You have every right to think that. I mean, Russell Wilson was carrying this team for years. Now he's gone. Right? Bobby Wagner's gone. Your leaders are on both sides are done. It feels like the Pete Carroll era is coming to a close for sure. Next season might be the last go around for him. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not very confident in the Seahawks, but I still would probably go with Drew Lock next season.
I would too. I would just wait. I would just wait it off and then see sort of what ends up happening with next year's draft in the future. Like I wouldn't draft a quarterback just to draft a quarterback when it's clear that Malik Willis isn't going to come in here and be able to carry Seattle if Russell Wilson couldn't do it. And if Russell Wilson did do it, but it's the fact of the matter is that's Russell Wilson, right?
Exactly.
Malik Willis.
You can't put that pressure on a young quarterback, let alone a rookie. It's a tough first experience in this league. There's so many questions. This is phenomenal.
Amazing,
appreciate
guys.
everyone who's tuning in. This has been a ton
much.
Of fun so far.
Again, if you're asking questions in Instagram, head over to our YouTube. We are answering these questions in the chat over here.
Dom is saying that the last top 10 safety pick was Jamal Adams. I do believe that's true as well, just off the top of my head. And I guess how his career's sort of gone, yeah, he's a really talented player, but looking back, was it right to use such a high pick on a safety? I don't know. It's something that a lot of these teams are going to have to think about with Kyle Hamilton. That being said, I think he's a really special player. Thoughts on the Chargers signings from Tomaso? What's going on? I love them. I think they've done a phenomenal job. They haven't built their team through free agency, but they've attacked little needs and they've bolstered their roster. I think the Chiefs can feel them on their heels.
If you guys pay attention to or watch or tune into our podcast, you would know that I deemed the Patriots last year as my Patriots. I think I am going to be trading myself.
Oh, that's so you're in way too late
to the Chargers now. They're going to be my Chargers, my Los Angeles Chargers. I'm going to go just because I know you have your Chiefs.
No, but I'm also on the Chargers wagon. I told everyone
you can't have two teams.
No, you got to listen to. You can't even have two teams in the same division.
You're
allowed to say your Patriots because you got on your Patriots early when Max Jones was first coming in, and I was skeptical. So you're allowed to have that take. The Chargers, you're in too late. You have to get them. Super Bowl odds released a couple weeks ago. They were like plus 26,000. They're already up at close to plus 1,000 now.
Yeah, don't worry.
So you're
my Chargers.
You're too late to the party. You can't ride with my Chiefs.
It's never too late.
And I'm not going to allow you to do that. CJ Fisher is asking, what else could the Eagles do? Could they get Marcus Williams? I know they have a need at safety. They signed Anthony Harris a year ago to a 1-year contract. He's on the market now. I love the Hassan Reddick deal. If we look at the Eagles last year, where their strengths were, it was defensively and they could run the ball.
Yes.
Tomaso saying, "Are you Italian? Pronounce my name so perfectly." Christian's actually Italian. I'm not.
He's the fakest Italian.
Okay, I'm sort of immersed.
He's a Croatian Italian.
The area we live in, it's a big Italian community.
Yes.
So
we're from Toronto.
I'm familiar.
It's a big, just north of Toronto. So there's a lot of Italians over here. But I'm Italian. He's actually Croatian. But hey, for a Croatian, you are pretty Italian. I think we could sort of adopt you, right? Because Tomaso was perfect. That's a perfect pronunciation.
My name's also Thomas, so it's kind of similar in a way. But thoughts on the Eagles and what they could do? Could they get Marcus Williams for the right price? I think they'd be involved. I do think he's going to command. Like if we look at what Justin Reed got last night, you got to think it's going to be more than that.
Yes.
So then, does it become something that the Eagles should be interested in? I don't necessarily know.
Okay, look. If I was the Eagles, I think my priority right now would be finding receiver across from Devonta Smith. I know a lot of people want to say Juju, but I just don't know if Juju is like the ideal fit for across from Devonta Smith. If I was looking for a player that I wanted to play, I would look at Jarvis Landry personally. I was thinking about it last night.
To me, you need more size. If you feel the receiving core, and say what you want about Jalen Reagor, the fact is they invested in him. He's still going to be there next year.
Right.
Devonta Smith, Jalen Reagor, Jarvis Landry. I mean, I guess you have Dallas Goedert, kind of helps you. I just think you need that, like, talking about the Chargers yesterday, got Mike Williams, he's big and get those jump balls. I think Jarvis Landry, like, from a Jalen Hurts perspective, would be phenomenal because he's a guy that he's a safety blanket. He's reliable. He's got some of the best hands in the NFL. That could be a guy that could, I think, really help take Jalen Hurts to the next level. I don't know. To me, the Jarvis Landry landing spots, I'm kind of torn on.
I don't know. I just see it. I think the Eagles need a possession type of guy.
That's true too,
right? And I think Jarvis Landry offers experience. He can sort of mentor that young guy. And look, after all, Jalen Reagor, say what you want about him, the talent is there. I just feel like he's too in his head right now, and he needs some mentorship to get prop. At the end of the day, it is tough to play in Philadelphia. Like, that's the hardest. Deshaun Watson doesn't even want to go play in Philadelphia,
It's even tougher when Justin Jefferson's drafted after you, which is, like, it's not his fault.
But it's not his fault.
Yeah, it's not his fault.
Yes.
If the Eagles take Justin Jefferson and Jalen Reagor goes to the Vikings to pick after.
Exactly, right?
I'm not going to say Jalen Reagor's this superstar, but just that added pressure, maybe that makes a huge difference, and in a different landing spot, maybe he's just a little bit more productive than he has been. I don't know. But I do think the Eagles, I like what they've done so far. I think Hassan Reddick was not only a great signing, but I think the contract is pretty nice as well. Caleb Foster's asking, what will the 49ers do? The reports came out yesterday that they're all in on a cornerback. A lot of us were thinking J.C. Jackson. Stephon Gilmore was touted there a little bit this morning. But they signed Charvarius Ward last night really, really late. Like, I mean, I'm about to go to bed late, and this stuff's still going on. But
who sleeps during free agency?
Not us, clearly. We're still here. But I don't know. I think the 49ers, corner was a huge need. It really, really hurt them last year after Jason Verrett went down. What else can you do to help you get closer to your goal of ultimately winning a Super Bowl? Because where I look at this team, they're close. They're very close, and a lot of it's just going to depend on how good Trey Lance can be in year one.
He's got a lot of sort of pressure on him though. Like I'm not doubting the guy. I'm not doubting his talent. I just don't know if the 49ers are going to be necessarily a pick to be even a lock for the playoffs. Like, you're asking a guy who's already making a big jump from the FCS playing in North Dakota State to the NFL, right? Yeah. And that transition alone is huge because of the gap difference between the FCS and the NCAA. And now you're asking him to not just make the transition, but be an instant playoff contender right off the rip. I know the 49ers are a very good team, but like I feel like maybe the expectations for Trey Lance are set a little bit too high right now.
I mean, I would agree with you. Just I'm super low in the rest of the NFC. Like if we look at the teams that were battling, but that was before Brady just decided to change his mind after 3 weeks of retirement and spending time with his family and all that fun stuff.
I saw a tweet last night, and it goes Brady met his wife and kids for the first time, and he decided to screw it.
You know what I saw? It was a meme of the Jalen Waddle draft meme when he gets drafted and he gets up, his whole family comes in and he leaves, and it said Tom Brady after his kid accidentally changes the channel for the 5th time, and it's just him getting up and leaving. He's going right back to the Bucs. So who knows? Bryce Lewandowski, great last name by the way, phenomenal striker there.
Are you related to
that would be cool.
The Polish lad?
That would be cool. I'm sure with last name like that, I'm sure you get that all the time, so that's annoying. We're sorry, we just couldn't help ourselves. Asking, what do you think the Giants should do at quarterback? Try and sign one in free agency with the limited cap they have, or try and draft one? One of the most difficult answers, because the Giants are just crippled from all the moves that Dave Gettleman made in terms of what they can do with the cap. I think they're forced to give it one more go with Daniel Jones. If it doesn't work out, I mean, you're not going to give up on Brian Dable, but I think you're going to give him that next quarterback to try and build something around. I think they'll be in play to draft a quarterback next year.
I like that, to be honest. I think the Giants are in a good position because they have their head coach, they have their general manager who are as close to a perfect signing as it could get. I'm never going to say it's a perfect fit because there's some. I mean, at the end of the day, there's nothing perfect, right? Dabble he was my number one head coaching candidate, and Schoen was a fantastic hire at GM. And now I think that they're putting themselves in a position. Look, Daniel Jones. Everyone sort of knows what Daniel Jones is, but if Daniel Jones is a good quarterback next year, they'll be competing for the playoffs. If he's a average quarterback, they'll at least have some sort of way to move up for a quarterback next year. And if he's poor, then they're in a prime position to draft a quarterback without having to give up anything. And I think they're also in the same situation with the Steelers, which is why I love that Trubisky signing so much. It's because it's sort of like a high upside, low risk signing because you have Trubisky who can either if he's good, you're a fringe playoff team.
Yeah.
If he's average, you're going to be in that sort of area where maybe 10 to 13 to 14, where you could still move up. It won't cost you a crazy amount for a quarterback. And if he's terrible, you can draft a quarterback next year.
Yeah, what did they sign him to? A 1-year contract? 2 years?
2 years, $14 million.
2 years, $14 million. So yeah, right? I mean, I think we did touch up on that last night. He's essentially getting the same amount that Teddy Bridgewater's getting.
Right.
And he's going to be starting, whereas Teddy Bridgewater is literally being signed to not play and just help Tua from the sideline.
Exactly.
So I do think it was a good deal. Said yesterday, I just wish the Steelers would maybe be a tad more aggressive. Deshaun Watson's the guy, but I totally understand if Houston doesn't want to keep him in the AFC. That's why I was so surprised that he's talking with the Browns, which is crazy. So if you're just hopping in the chat now, I want to hear where you think Deshaun Watson's going to go because this has been a saga that's dragged on for
when do you think he's going to get traded?
I hope it's soon.
When do you think Deshaun Watson's going to get traded, and where do you think he's going to end up? Let's hear your predictions here. I want to see some bold and back it up. If you think he's going to go to the Browns, tell me why he's going to go to the Browns and what is he going to get moved for? Because I personally can't see a scenario where he's traded to any other team besides the Carolina Panthers right now.
You don't think he's going to go to the Saints?
No, I just don't know. I don't think the Saints can match any offer with the Panthers. Like the Panthers have a lot of young players on cheap contracts, and they have that 6th overall pick.
But
that's
you want these young players if you're Houstoners. You just want draft picks.
The thing is, okay, if you're Houston, why take a draft pick to draft guys that are top prospects already? Like Jeremy Chin, very good prospect.
I guess you can ask for J.C. Horn. Yeah, you could do that.
He was just drafted top 10 last year, right? Like that's a great prospect. Even you ask for Terrace Marshall Jr., who's a good receiver, right? Like there's guys that are on that team plus draft picks. Like, the Panthers could put together a very good offer. And Matt Rule is known to be aggressive. Matt Rule plays like his job is on the line, but he operates on a day-to-day basis like he's like playing fantasy football. He just loves to throw the towel. And he traded a second-round pick for Sam Darnold last year.
Which at the time, and honestly, I still don't think it was that bad of a move. You might as well just try.
Exactly.
Quarterback,
right.
you gotta try when it comes to quarterbacks. If it doesn't work out, yes. I mean, hey, Miami traded a second-round pick for Josh Rosen just because they wanted to see if something was there.
Absolutely.
To me, it's worth the risk to go in for that. Anthony Filichetti, what's going on, Philly? He says Murray for Watson, Kyler Murray for Deshaun Watson.
I would do that if I was the Cardinals.
I don't know if I would do that on Houston. Thinking about Kyler Murray, I said yesterday it might be an Oakland Athletics uniform pretty soon. I don't know exactly what's going on with the Athletics in the baseball world, but maybe they can use Kyler Murray. That'd be pretty interesting. What we're talking about, Deshaun Watson. I want to know, because personally I think he's going to go to the NFC South. Now that Brady's back in the equation, does Deshaun Watson to the Panthers or Deshaun Watson to the Saints put either of those teams over top of the Buccaneers? I don't like the Saints always beat the Buccaneers, and that's with Jameis Winston, Taysom Hill, whoever at quarterback.
No,
so if they added Deshaun Watson, are they now the favorites in that division? That's what I want to know from people in the chat.
While we're getting those answers in, I'm going to touch on that. I don't think it makes them favorites, but I do think it makes them a playoff contending team. Because if you look just off the top of your head, you look at the NFC North, the Packers, their playoff team may be the Vikings. That's 2. You have the Bucks, you have the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. And then you have, I guess you could put all 3 teams, and that gets you 7. That gets you 7 playoff teams right there, right? So, I mean, and that's also counting the Vikings. That's assuming the Cardinals are going to figure out what's going on with Kyler Murray. If that's not going to be a big time distraction over the offseason, which it could be. Look at these. You guys are absolutely destroying this live chat right now. We love the support. Let's get some comments.
The Colts would have been amazing, but they won't do that. So best fit would be the Panthers. That team can be a playoff team. So Sam Darnold and a first for Deshaun. I think your price is going to have to go way up in terms of getting him. But I'm with you. I like the Panthers landing spot. Colts would have been the best. Let's all agree on that. That would have been the
absolutely.
best.
I think maybe the Steelers would have been better than the Colts. But the Colts are a fantastic landing spot.
Houston's never gonna trade him within that division. That just won't happen.
No.
But that's interesting. Dominic Cirillo is going to say, no, I think the Bucs are a more well-rounded team. That's very fair, especially with Tom Brady. They're getting a lot of their veterans back. You still got on the offensive side of the ball Chris Godwin under the franchise tag, Mike Evans. Like we know what the Bucs are. We know what Tom Brady is. They're going to be good. I want to see if they can hold on to Leonard Fournette because he became a big part of their offense last season. But I think that's probably the opinion I'd agree with. I still think the Bucs are going to be that top-tier team in that NFC South. Daniel's saying that the Panthers have a lot of solid wide receiver talent, which could also play to Watson's strength, and it can really make them a high-powered, potent offense, mixed with the defense they have. That's very true about the Panthers, too, and you're talking about that young talent they have on defense. In every single level of the Panthers' defense, you look at their front four, you got guys like, Brian Burns, your Turk Gross-Matos, like Derek Brown,
exactly.
Tackle. Like, you have a lot of young talent in the corner. In the secondary, you got Jeremy Chin and J.C. Horn, like we were talking about, linebacker Shaq Thompson. So the Panthers have a really underrated defense, and I think if you bring Deshaun Watson in there, you're now asking the defense to do even less than they were already doing, and you have DJ Moore, Robbie Anderson, Terrace Marshall. Like, to me, Carolina brings in everything, and it's a lot more manageable with a cap, whereas New Orleans has to move heaven and earth just to even acquire him. And then there's still other pieces that I think need to be added.
I agree. Don't get it wrong. I think if he goes to New Orleans, that's definitely a good fit. But what we're also getting at is I find it hard to see him going any other team besides those two, right? I think it's going to be Carolina, but I wouldn't be overly shocked if it's the Saints. Right now, I don't know if I could. I think just given the circumstances, I think Carolina could offer a little bit more, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a good take as well.
We're nearing 11. We've been live for an hour right now. So if everyone's still there, thank you guys for tuning in. Smash that like button, by the way. It's always good. It helps the channel grow.
You were looking at it yesterday. I can't see it in front of me now. I don't know. All I can see is the chat.
I believe we got like 20 likes, something like that. So if you haven't liked the video yet, if you haven't liked the live stream, I should say, smash that like button. It helps us grow. We're trying to pump up a lot of more YouTube content. We have fun doing it. If you haven't tuned into our podcasts, we do them every Tuesday. We're supposed to be doing it today, but obviously we're live streaming instead. If you're in our Instagram chat, come on into our YouTube, come hang out. We can answer your questions over here. Smash that like button. How did you do that, Bob?
Typed it from right here.
As you can see, we're a little bit we're sort of like boomers when it comes to YouTube live streaming.
When it comes to live streaming, like Instagram, we know what we're doing. YouTube, we're just exploring it now. So I'm guessing if you're here, you're coming from Instagram. We're really starting to ramp up our YouTube content. We think it'd be a lot of fun. So subscribe if you're new. Thanks for tuning in. Daniel says, I don't see a like button. Where is it? I think it's.
It is a like button. It's by it says by the title over here. 28 likes. These boys are smashing it right now.
You're looking at. There's a lot of chatter in the chat about Michael Thomas, and we talked about him briefly last night because his status has just been in limbo the past couple of years, really. But at the basis of everything, when he's on the field, he's a really productive wide receiver, someone who was breaking records, considered a top 5 talent in the league. I honestly have no idea what they're going to do or what they're planning on doing within the Saints. Because if you get a guy like Deshaun, you might have to move him because of cap issues. But also, if you get a guy like Deshaun, I'd love to have a wide receiver like Michael Thomas to pair him with. So I want to hear from all of you. Where is Michael Thomas going to play next year? Are the Saints going to move on from him? Or are they going to sort of form a new tandem with whoever their new quarterback's going to be and go all out next year and competing in that NFC South? That's what I want to hear.
And we're starting to get used to and familiar with some names here. I know there were some guys in the live stream last night. So if you're a return listener, thank you very much. But let's hear what you guys' favorite teams are. What team do you support? If you're a Cowboy fan like me, I feel your pain. If you're a Dolphins fan like Pac, I feel your pain also.
Yeah.
Right? I have a buddy that's just started watching football 2 years ago. And I actually got him into football watching the draft at my house 2 years ago, the Joe Burrow draft, 2020 draft. I said, because I'm a big LSU guy, he was trying to pick a team. I said, just like the Bengals. He goes, but the Bengals are terrible. He was looking at their record the previous year, and I'm like, you know what? Look, just trust Joe Burrow. And now the guy's seen a Super Bowl appearance before I've even seen a conference championship performance yet.
That's cool. We're getting in our teams now from
Bills Mafia.
Oh, that's Stefan. Shout out to Stefan. How's it going, man? Shout out to him. Check out his podcast, everyone. The Ginger's Gridiron and Golf Podcast.
Big golf guy.
Yeah, big golf guy. Bills Mafia though, so that's tough. We sort of butt heads in that aspect. But hey, I can't really say much right now. I can't remember the last time the Dolphins have even beaten the Bills. Tomaso Chargers. So you gotta be feeling pretty good about what the moves you've made in the past week. They're looking really good. We had a question earlier that I wanted to get to. I'm trying to scroll up and see it. It was essentially just asking us who we think's winning the AFC West. I think this is going to be a talking point from now until September. People are going to be going back and forth on it. But essentially, where I stand, and if you listen to our podcast, you know what I'm about to say. To me, the West runs. They're called the best in the West. The West runs through my Kansas City Chiefs. And I don't know. I think I'm going to go into next year with that take, mostly because my ego won't allow me to move off of the team that I've semi-backed. Yeah, I'm just not selling, even though I think they are in real jeopardy of missing out on the division title next year. I really like Russell Wilson, Justin Herbert. They're going to put the heat on the Chiefs. And I'm telling you guys, say what you want about the Raiders. I don't think that they're going to win the division, but they are going to play a role in upsetting one of these teams because they're going to win a game in Kansas City or in LA or at home to the Broncos or the Chiefs or whoever. They're going to win some games in that division, and it's just going to be a mess. So, long answer is I don't really know. Short answer is I'm going to stick with the Chiefs.
Look, for those, if there's anyone that's watching live right now, they support our podcast, they listen to our podcast, they would know that Pac is known for his diamond hands. I sold my Chiefs stock at the New York Stock Exchange after the 4th week. When I saw that game, I think it was the 5th week, after they even beat the Giants on Monday Night Football.
Brutal.
I was like that. I was watching the game. I'm like, that's it. I'm done with this Chiefs team. I'm done. I sold all my stock. I sold it at a loss. And
yeah, that was bad.
That just shows you if you guys ever get any stock advice from me, don't listen to it because I sold my Chiefs stock at a massive loss when I could have maybe quadrupled my investment just later on in the year. But Pac, I got to give it to him. He sat here. He actually, for the podcast, he sits on this chair.
We switch sides just because I'm all plugged in.
He's all plugged in over there. So this is actually my seat here. Yeah. So he was here after that time when I sold it. I went to the New York Stock Exchange. I sold my stocks. Pac sat here with his diamond hands, and he said, "You know what? I'm going to hold out on the Chiefs because I still think they're going to the Super Bowl." He was so close, but hey, I gotta give it to him. If it
weren't for a infamous Andy Reid collapse, Patrick Mahomes collapse, they would have been, who knows, maybe in the Super Bowl champions. I was going to ask you about that because we did switch sides. How are you feeling in that chair? Because to me, yesterday, I felt so weird here. I'm kind of getting used to it now.
I'm used to it.
I still maybe like that side better. I don't know. I got to find out what my good side is. Maybe I don't even have a good side.
I think I'm pretty good from both sides. My beard's looking good today. I mean, I shaved this. I shaved this morning.
You got ready this morning. I'm not.
Last night I was exhausted all day. So it was a late night stream last night. But I mean, I know the boys are having me up a little bit in the chat.
All right, Stephen Kerr is asking who lands Chandler Jones. This is an interesting one because he is, I believe, on the other side of 30. So, but he's also a player that's really productive and could be landing a bit of a big contract. I don't know. To me,
I saw Sports Track had his prediction $16.5 million a year,
which is to me that's good value. That's what Dolphins are paying Ogba. That's just a little bit more than Randy Gregory, what he just got a couple hours ago. So, I don't know. Where do you think Chandler Jones is going to end up?
He's got to be on a contender. Like, I don't think he goes to a team like Seattle. I know I'm wondering if that Seahawks fan is still in the chat here, or if I pissed him off and he left after my Seahawks take.
Probably that's probably what
happened. He's got to play. He's got to be on a contender, right? I can see him going to the Ravens, not back to the Ravens, but I can see him playing for the Ravens. The Ravens tend to go that direction of the veteran pass rushers and free agency on those 1-2 year deals. I can see him going to the Ravens.
I like the Ravens because they really never. I mean, they had Odafe Owe a year ago, who's a great rookie.
Exactly, offers a good mentorship role.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But also, when they lost to Darius Smith a couple years ago to the Packers, I kind of feel like, they tried to replace him, but the void that he left was never really totally filled. I think that'd be neat. I'm creating a trend where I'm just, whoever is a free agent, I'm saying that they're going to go to the Colts because they have so much cap space. They're close to being a contender. Like I said, they still need to get the quarterback position right, which is easier said than done. But I think that'd be a really, really unique spot where Chandler Jones could go. He can improve defense. He can make a big impact. He can potentially win a division. I don't know. I think that's a good shout for Chandler Jones. Yeah, Stephen says Ravens and Bills, which are both good shouts. The Bills, I mean, that's just wishful thinking on my part. I don't want to see Chandler Jones go to the Bills just because I can't have my division get any harder than it already is.
Look at Haven spamming the chat here.
Arizona Cardinals projections. All right, what do you think about the Cardinals?
I don't know. I think they're going to be a solid team next year. I still think I'd probably rank them as the third best team in that division. I would set them around maybe a wild card team, that 6-7 seed wild card team. At the end of the day, I'm not a fan of the coach. I think Cliff Kingsbury's. I wasn't a fan of him even when they brought him in just a few years ago. And it could be, who knows? It could be right when it comes to a distraction. This Kyler Murray thing could sort of maybe linger on the offseason and it sort of leads into next year. But I think they're probably I'm going to say they're a playoff team because just given the nature of the NFC, but I don't know if they're going to do anything more than that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think he's asking more so free agency.
Oh, free agency wise. Oh, I could see, the Cardinals are a team that I thought they would be more aggressive when it comes to being like targeting someone like a receiver or on their offensive line to protect Kyler Murray. But I guess that's, if they don't, I know good teams don't like to spend a lot of money on free agency. Arizona hasn't really done that recently off the top of my head, but
Yeah, where I stand with the Cardinals, say what you want about all that's, because everything that's gone down this offseason with Kyler Murray is sort of tarnished, not his reputation, but it's made people look at the Cardinals a different way. But if you really look at how they're built, like, this is a really special talent at quarterback, and you can win games with this guy.
Of course.
Like, he is very talented, and he's getting better as a passer, what feels like every single week. So I'm confident in the Cardinals and in what they built. They've gotten better every single year under Kyler. That being said, it's a proven year for the coach. It's a proven year for the GM, even though they just got big extensions, which is kind of crazy too. I don't know. I'm going to say in terms of the Cardinals, what they need to do is get another shark on the defensive side of the ball, especially if you lose Chandler Jones, because that's going to be tough. Secondary, you got Budda Baker. Pair someone else with him. Get a more of a lockdown corner. You got Byron Murphy there, who I like, but can he run with your Cooper Kupps and Deebo Samuels and your DK Metcalfs, the guys that you're competing with in your division? I don't know. I think that's where the Cardinals really lack, because I'd love to hear what you have to say. Obviously, you know the team better than I would, but to me, it feels like in order for the Cardinals to succeed, so much rides on Kyler Murray's shoulders. And I don't know if that is a recipe that can work in a division as competitive as the NFC West. I truly don't.
I think I agree. I think that's a perfect take in my opinion.
Yeah, Haven says, I say we need a corner. I would agree with you definitely. I think corner would be a phenomenal grab. But if we look at who's out there, I mean, J.C. Jackson's gone now. Is it better to just maybe wait until the draft and try to land a top guy? There's some really exciting corners this year. So I don't know. It's the Cardinals are. I mean, I would still feel. I'd still feel good if I'm a Cardinals fan going into next season, just because you got what a lot of teams would die for in this league. Mm-hmm. A young star quarterback.
Right, and a very good athlete.
Yeah.
There's nobody's doubting the talent of Kyler Murray. I don't think so. I think it's just the stuff that's sort of off the field. Leadership and sort of social media antics are the only criticism that you could have.
Yeah.
Right?
All right, we got two great questions. Seahawks for Watson.
I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think Watson would waive his. I'm pretty sure a report came out yesterday too that said he's not interested in going to Seattle. I'm not sure who brought that report out. I can pull it up here, but I don't see it. I don't see that happening.
Yeah, I want to hear from you, Mini Bigfoot. There, I know you're a Seahawks fan. I was reading some of your chats earlier. To me, like, what would be the game plan with Watson? Like, if you get Deshaun Watson into Seattle right now, based on what you saw with Russell Wilson the past couple of years, how he had to carry that team, do you genuinely think you have a chance to compete with the 49ers, the Rams, and the Cardinals in that dogfight of a division? I don't know. I'm not so sure. Even though you have a really, really, really good quarterback, I still think it would be a tough thing to do. This one is a great question from Bryce. Again, Bryce, thanks for sticking around here for so long. It's been great to chat with you. Where do you think Jabril Peppers ends up coming off an ACL injury? Now, we did a podcast segment maybe 2-3 weeks ago talking about our most under the radar free agents, and I think you said OJ Howard, which was a great shout. I said Jabril Peppers. This is a player that I loved. One, coming into the NFL.
Versatile, too.
And when he went over to New York in that Odell Beckham trade, I thought he was phenomenal. The thing is with the Giants, when he got hurt this year, they brought in Xavier McKinney, and he was a star. So, I don't know. I just think that
I like Jabril Peppers.
Yeah, I like him. I don't think he's going back to the Giants. I think he could be very useful somewhere else. Because he's coming off that injury, I don't know if he's going to get necessarily a big deal. Everything's kind of seemed quiet on him. He's not really regarded as this top free agent on the market. But I think there's a lot of teams that could use a guy like that. Maybe he can even stick in the NFC East. We were talking about the Commanders earlier. They lose Landon Collins. He's another player who can play a similar role. You can line him up in the box. You can move him around in the secondary even. So maybe that's the place I'm sending him to. Maybe I'm sending Jabril Peppers over to the Washington Commanders. This is a great question from Dom Strong. Again, Dom, you've been here for a while. We appreciate it.
We appreciate all you guys, by the way. Everyone that's still here.
This has been great.
It's been phenomenal. We love doing this. This is so much fun. This is our second time doing it. And I love it. It's fun.
He's asking, who do you think was the most promising rookie quarterback last year? I think Mac Jones would be the favorite for this answer. I'll say this. Maybe for purposes of this question, we'll exclude Mac Jones from this, because the other ones were sort of all in this other group of they didn't have much success in the win column. Who would you say was most promising?
Excluding Mac Jones?
Who are you going to throw in? Davis Mills in this answer?
I like Davis Mills, but I don't think he was the most promising. I think, personally, I guess it's a boring answer, but the improvement that I saw, picks aside from Trevor Lawrence, being able to sort of work at times with the roster that he was given, I think that's promising. I do like what I saw from Zach Wilson after his injury. When he came back, he looked completely like a completely different quarterback compared to his first half. But I mean, look, guys, like this quarterback class is sort of shaping up to what we thought it would be. It's going to be, these guys seem to all be capable starters in this league. Whether they're elite starters, that's still made to be seen. But look, I don't know if I can pinpoint a quote unquote most promising. I guess obviously you can't say Mac Jones, but that would be my pick. But I was impressed with everything that I saw from every quarterback that started last year, including Davis Mills. I was intrigued.
I think everyone showed flashes, but I also think the quarterback class last year served as a lesson to all of us because we sort of got caught up with the Patrick Mahomeses and the Justin Herberts of the NFL world that just come in from day one and are flat out outstanding. That is an incredibly unrealistic expectation. They're called rookies for a reason. They're new. They're fresh. They've never seen NFL defenses before. There's so much to learn. I think you sort of hit the nail on the head when you said there's so many guys that showed flashes, that showed they have potential. Now into year 2, you start to expect a little bit more. Year 3 is where you really need to make that jump to prove that you're worth a second contract. So, I don't know. I like a little bit of everything. I think Trevor Lawrence maybe did the most with the least, but also at times he had like a really rough stretch where he wasn't even throwing any passing touchdowns in the middle of the season. I don't know. It was a tough year for a lot of them, but I think in the long run, we're going to see why this was a benefit to so many of these guys because it's going to help them in the long run. Mini Bigfoot, the Jags fan, is saying the Jags are winning 6 games next year. He's a diehard Jags fan.
I could see them even winning more than 6 games.
That division is not good. The division's wide open.
Right?
It's wide open. So you already know that they are. Let's be honest. They start the season with 1 win because you know that they're going to beat Indianapolis and Jacksonville. I think they've won like 7 of the last 8 times there. Beat them in Week 18. It's crazy. I think that they can. The hope to me. I mean, they were in. If you look back at in a Week 3 Thursday night football game against the Bengals, who went on to win the Super Bowl. I mean, the Jags were in that game. They beat Miami. Like these are teams that went on to compete in the AFC. So if you just get a little bit better, you got a new head coach coming in who has a great track record developing young quarterbacks. I mean, I think that'd be a good expectation to set for the Jags. That's where you want to be. You want to be around that 6-win mark next year to just show that you've improved.
Let's get some more likes in here, boys. I like it.
What are we
30 likes. That's more than yesterday's. If you haven't smashed the like button or subscribe, do that so you're notified when we go live, when we make new videos. We appreciate all the support for the people that have been in live so far. Haven said, "Will Kaepernick make it back in the league, or do you think he's done for good?" I do think Kaepernick. I mean, I saw he was working out with Tyler Lockett. I don't know how legit that is because Kaepernick has been working out for quite a while. And I remember he attempted to make a comeback a few years ago and then he declined contracts or whatever. I'm not sure. It's sort of a weird subject for Kaepernick because I don't know if he's actually interested in playing in the league because he does fairly well. Oh man, Pac's got his
down the wrong pipe.
Pac's got his tea burning his throat.
That's apple juice in there.
Apple juice.
What do you think?
What are you, a baby?
It's 11 o'clock in the morning. What do you think I'm going to drink? Coffee?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I drink. This coffee mug is done, but this will probably be the first of my 4 or 5 coffees today.
I drink more coffee than I have in my life. I think in my lifetime I've had 3 coffees ever.
3 in
my life, and one of them was we did a show, the first ever show. I think I went to bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning. We started the show at 7 the next day. I don't know. What were we talking about? Colin Kaepernick?
Colin Kaepernick. Yes.
I didn't mean to interrupt with my. My drink going
with his apple juice.
My apple juice, yeah. What am I, 6 years old? I'd be very, very surprised if I saw Colin Kaepernick back in an NFL uniform. I think he proved, several years ago when he went to the Super Bowl, I was a huge fan of his. He had the talent. I just think now at this stage with all the young quarterbacks coming into the league, I just don't see any room for him as a starter at least. So there's the answer on that. Mr. Shy Guy's coming in and asking, what do you guys think about Trey Lance? Listen, I think the ceiling is as high as can be with Trey Lance. I will say this, though. He's in the perfect situation to succeed. We don't often see a young rookie quarterback get to a place where, San Fran has a Super Bowl caliber roster. That being said, with a great situation comes very high expectations. We saw this with Tua in his rookie season. The Dolphins were better than everybody thought that they were going to be. All of a sudden, he starts getting criticized because he's not carrying that franchise forward. So I think he's going to get a little bit different treatment than the other rookie quarterbacks we've seen from a year ago, just in the sense that, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, if they're not winning games, it's okay, as long as they're sort of showing that they can play with the big boys. But with Trey Lance, it's not just about his play, it's about getting those wins too, because they traded a boatload of picks to get him.
I think that's fair, because my one concern with Trey Lance is I'm not doubting his talent. I just think Trey Lance is in a situation where there's going to be a little bit of pressure from him. I touched upon it just maybe half hour ago. He's already making a big jump from the FCS to the NFL, right? That's already a big jump in itself. So now, not only does he have to just have to be an NFL caliber quarterback, he has to be a playoff caliber quarterback and replicate the success that they've had with Jimmy Garoppolo, who, there's no doubt about it, he's better than Jimmy Garoppolo probably already, and he's got a higher ceiling than Jimmy Garoppolo. It's just the stuff that you can't control that comes with an NFL quarterback, the speed and just the quickness of the game, the processing. I don't know if he's going to be able right off the jump to immediately go into a game action. I saw clips of him in practice, and he was making all the throws. He looks like an athlete, but that's everyone expected him to be, right? But I mean, I think when it comes to ceiling, there might not be a quarterback that has a higher ceiling in the draft last year, higher than Trey Lance, right? But Tyrann Mathieu.
Yeah, I just checked Twitter. I'm not seeing that on Twitter. Maybe we're falling victim to the chat again.
That's a troll. Ryan Ray, the troll. We got trolled by him.
You got one. Hey, you got me, but I know better. I was checking Twitter.
Elijah Moore, and Michael Carter. You know what?
Haven's saying Tyrann signed with I don't know. Maybe are they teaming up on me? I'm not seeing anything on Twitter.
No, they're teaming up on us. Maybe. Let me see here.
Unless it's from a different source. I'm not seeing anything from Shefty or Rapp about any Tyrann Mathieu news. But if it is true, and the Ravens, I mean, that's a good.
I don't see anything yet, unless you guys got some inside sources.
Maybe they have inside. Maybe we got two insiders in the stream.
If it comes out that this is true, you guys got to hit us up on our DMs, and you guys will be the official insiders of CTB, right?
Why not?
Right. Thoughts on Elijah Moore and that's what we were talking about, and Michael Carter.
Yeah, we talked about this last night as well, and how, like, I think both of us, we like what the Jets are building. We think it's going to be a slow process, but Michael Carter was awesome last year. And Elijah Moore had a couple games where it was like, is he in the Jamar Chase and Jalen Waddle Smith category of, like, rookie wide receiver? Like, he could really, carry an offense. So, I don't know. I think the Jets have a nice sort of early start to they have the foundation. They have some playmakers, and it's like, when's the last time we could have said this for the Jets? I still think, I think they could really benefit from a veteran.
Yes.
Like, maybe even go sign Allen Robinson to the New York Jets. What do you think about that one?
I think Allen Robinson is. I mean, we're just a year removed of Allen Robinson potentially getting a contract that pays him around $20 million a year, right? Like last year, if he hit the open market, he got franchise tagged, but that guy was going to get paid, right? Yeah. He was going to get paid big time. He had some injury concerns last year, but the Jets are an intriguing option for him because they just paid some decent money to Corey Davis. I don't know if that's a fit, in my opinion, but going back to Elijah Moore, and Michael Carter, I am a big time Michael Carter fan. I think Michael Carter's skill set is perfect for what today's sort of running back looks like. And I see a comment about Etienne. We'll get to him later because it sort of ties into my point about Michael Carter right here. But you need sort of those versatile athletes out of the backfield, guys that can play receiver, guys that can play running back, and almost be just a weapon, even regardless of just the run game, right? Yeah. And I think Michael Carter's that guy. I'm glad you're mentioning Travis Etienne because I think Travis Etienne is the perfect running back for, like, the league today. I think he is basically Christian McCaffrey, just a little bit. I mean, I don't want to say he's Christian McCaffrey because Christian McCaffrey is, like, arguably the best running back in the league. But the skill set is similar, right? Etienne can play the slot. He can run the ball very well. He's a great athlete. Obviously, his injuries, it sucks because he got hurt right away before he even got to see him last year. But Michael Carter is sort of, I put him in the same category as that because we saw his effectiveness as a receiver last year out of the backfield. He was a very good weapon. Very good weapon.
All right, before we get to Travis Etienne, some news in the chat from Stephen Kerr here. Preston Williams extended with the Dolphins.
Dolphins signed Connor Williams to a 2-year deal. You guys are signing all the Cowboys. That's good. That's a good deal.
That's a good. Let's see what
it comes out.
Okay, so we got big Dolphins news. They're upgrading the offensive line. They re-signed Preston Williams. I'll answer your question about Preston Williams. Can he live up to his potential in this offense? When Preston Williams came into the NFL as an undrafted free agent,
2-year, $14 million, 7.5 guaranteed. That's pretty good deal.
That's a pretty good term for. Was he a second-round pick?
Yeah,
at a Texas?
And he's people. I'm sure there's Cowboy fans in the chat that are gonna slander Connor Williams. He's not a great guard, but he's still very young. He's only 24 years old.
You know what? I'll tell you, I did want. I wanted us to trade for Lyle Collins. I'll be honest, but hey, he plays on the left side. Correct?
Yes.
Perfect. That's exactly what we needed. Quickly, just to not move off this Preston Williams thing. I've sort of moved off of the whole Preston Williams thing. He seems to not be able to stay on the field. I'm honestly very, very surprised that we re-signed him, but it seems like it's only a $2 million deal. So I don't really know if he's going to unlock his potential. I saw it as a rookie, but in the past couple of years, he's sort of fallen off. He's been injured. And when he gets on the field, it seems like the effort's just not totally there. He hasn't really found a spot in that offense. But that's some pretty.
We got
pretty
some
good
news.
Yeah, so this guy AJ says, "Awful deal. Connor sucks," but he puts in sarcasm and sadness. So I think he's trying to say that that it's a good deal. So hopefully, I don't know. You tell me about my new offensive guard, Connor Williams. Is he going to protect Tua? Is he going to unlock this run game? We just signed Chase Edmonds. And I told you guys earlier that I am a Dolphins fan. I want to hear from you. Like, how many games are my Fins winning next year? Is playoffs realistic? Because I don't know. Maybe I'm foolish. I think we have a chance at a wild card. Who knows? But the AFC seems to get tougher and tougher.
Bringing great
every second. So
yeah,
we'll see. Where we're going to get to Travis Etienne, right? Where do we see him fitting in?
Yes.
So I'll be honest with you. Who was it? It was Mini Bigfoot, the Jaguars fan, that was asking about Travis Etienne. I'll be honest, and I hope this doesn't offend. I really, really, really did not like that draft pick. And it's not because I don't like Travis Etienne. It's just I thought that, the Jaguars sort of became the poster child for not spending high draft capital on running back. You had James Robinson, who was a player that really worked, and he was undrafted.
Yes.
And he was phenomenal as a rookie. Now you go and you use a first-round pick on Travis Etienne. So he didn't play last year. But I'm really intrigued to see how they use him. Because I think if you line him up in the slot a lot, he can be really, really cool. I read that they may, I think you put it out earlier this morning, they may be moving off Laviska Shenault, or they might want to trade him. I think if you move off him, it opens up a lot more for Travis Etienne to excel in that offense. Obviously, he has that rapport with Trevor Lawrence. So I think that's pretty neat. I don't know. I in terms of like fantasy production, I don't know how much we're going to see about Travis Etienne, but I think he's someone that I'm definitely going to be interested in watching next season. So Dominic's asking, what moves do you see Washington making in free agency? We spoke briefly about this a little earlier in today's show. I think the general sentiment that both of us felt is don't really have a lot of wiggle room because of that Carson Wentz deal. So focus on fine-tuning little areas in that defense, maybe in the linebacker group. There's a new hole at safety that Landon Collins has gone, so I try to add maybe a smaller playmaker in those areas, but I don't see Washington being crazy busy. I think what they have on paper is pretty much the roster we're going to see going into next year, maybe a couple additions, and of course whoever they take in this year's draft. But if I'm a Washington fan, I'm hoping that Carson Wentz can be a little extra motivated going back to his old division. I think he can play. I think he still has what it takes, and I like your weapons on offense. So to me, the
goal.
goal.
The Commanders here.
Yeah, the Commanders. I'm taking command while you were posting Connor
Commander Carson, and I see there's probably some new viewers that are coming because we just posted the Connor Williams report. If you're in our Instagram live, come hang out in our YouTube live. We are answering your questions in here. So if you're asking any questions on Instagram, unfortunately, I won't be able to see it. I got 20/20 vision, but I don't got a magnifying glass for eyes. But come on in, ask your questions in here. Come subscribe while you're at it. Like this for everyone that's in here. We appreciate your support. But back to the Commanders. I personally am not a big Carson Wentz guy. As a Cowboy fan, when I saw the Commanders trade for Wentz, I was rejoicing. I love it. I think it's just a sidestep.
Maybe this cockiness is going to come back to bite you.
You know those like bungalow homes, but like they have like the second level, but it's like a loft.
Yeah.
I think that's like the step that the Commanders took from Heineke to Carson Wentz. It's not like a full step, but like it's like half a step. But I don't know. Wentz is the talent is there, I guess. It's just more of the how he is in the locker room, and I think the mental point of it, leader. Right? And the reason why I don't like the fit is because the fact that, look, everyone knows what type of coach Ron Rivera is. He likes to challenge his players. I don't know if Carson Wentz is the type of guy that, well, I do know that he's not that type of guy that likes to be coached in that way, right?
Yeah.
I think that's fair criticism to say, right? Like, given how his time in Indianapolis and his time closed in Philadelphia, I think that's fair to say.
I think the main sort of feeling initially from Commanders fans on social media was they were really, really hoping for Russell Wilson. And I think that's where they felt a little bit disappointed.
Yes.
But at the root of it all, did they make their team better? Yes. I know you said it's not a crazy, crazy step up. But when Carson Wentz is at his best, like if you look at his actual numbers last year, he had something like 27 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. Now, when he was needed most, did he really, carry the Colts forward? I don't know. I don't think so. I can't remember who was saying this, but his main thing about Carson Wentz was that he plays every single down like it's his last. Sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes that's a bad thing. He's very aggressive. I don't know. Dominic's saying that he's made of glass. He agrees with it being half a step, and he doesn't think it's a long-term solution for his Commanders. You know what? I like that, and I think that's a sign of a good fan over there.
That is. I agree.
There's a lot of fans that no matter who they are, I'm probably one of those fans too. I'll cheer for my guys, but that's a very honest assessment of your team.
That. That's a good take.
Yeah.
I agree, Dominic. I think that, look, at this point, everyone knows what the sort of quarterback that Wentz is. I mean, it sucks that Washington was sort of put. I gotta start getting used to the Commanders, right? But it's tough that it's a tough situation that the Commanders put themselves in, just given the nature of the quarterback position. Like they're just stuck in that quarterback purgatory with a good team. Like there's no doubt about it. That team is very good. They're just missing that quarterback spot. But with Wentz, I don't know. Like it seems like in the brightest moments, he's just not there. You know what I mean? And he's a little too aggressive, and that at times is not good. Like at the end of the day, the Colts couldn't have asked for more. Like the Colts had a win in your in game in Jacksonville in Week 17.
Week 18.
Week 18.
Change
Week
it up.
18, and he couldn't win the game. Right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you can go say what you want about Jacksonville. They beat the Bills, but the Bills lost to Jacksonville in Week 6 or Week 7, whatever it was. That's a random game. It's not a win in your end game in Week 18 in Jacksonville. I think that situations are different. I don't know. I am not, at the end of the day, I'm not the Carson Wentz guy. I don't think he's a quarterback capable of netting all these draft picks. I think that he's like the new, it seems like he's the new, what's his name? Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford's gets traded for all these picks, and it's like, what the hell is he doing? Like, I don't know. I don't know what these teams are seeing in Carson Wentz. I personally don't see it, but I think Jarvis Landry will sign with either the Patriots, Ravens, or even the Cowboys could go after him. Patriots and the Ravens are good. Quentin Marksbury. Quentin, I recognize your name. He's been a longtime supporter of our. Yeah,
we had him as a writer for a little bit.
Yes,
good guy, Quentin.
Big time.
Appreciate you asking all these questions today, hanging out in the chat. Yeah, Jarvis Landry. Patriots would be really cool. I don't want to see that as a Dolphins fan, but like they need help at wide receiver. They do.
Absolutely.
And I think he fits well with what Mac Jones does best.
Exactly. I think that's a great fit. I think it's a great fit. I could see him sing with the Ravens too. Like the Ravens are desperate for sort of that receiver. And I mean, I'm not saying Jarvis Landry is this top caliber wide receiver one, but at least he's an upgrade from what they have, right?
Mini Bigfoot comes in again, asking about his Jaguars. Will the Jaguars make the playoffs in 2 years? I think that's the hope of what you can accomplish. That'd be a very successful rebuild.
I think they're giving Trevor Lawrence every opportunity.
They are.
Well, at least trying to.
I don't know. I honestly want to hear from you. What are your initial thoughts on all the moves yesterday? Like, are you happy with Christian Kirk? Do you think giving him that money is going to result in more wins? Because if you look at what they have on offense now, like, is their wide receiver one Marvin Jones? Is it Christian Kirk? We don't really know what's going on with Laviska Shenault. How's Travis Etienne going to factor in? I think there's a lot of playmakers that Doug Peterson can do a really good job utilizing and getting into an offense. Like, Trevor Lawrence definitely has more around him this year. The Miles Jack release, I know he was a trade candidate about a year ago, but that kind of took me by surprise as well.
Yes, I can agree. Miles Jack's going to be a good player for a team that can't really afford the Bobby Wagner. I think Miles Jack is a perfect sort of fallback option because he's still very young. He's an uber athletic linebacker. And again, that's just the way you see with Micah Parsons last year. That's just the direction that the NFL is going in with these linebackers. You want guys that can play everywhere, right? There's room for these athletic guys now. Just because there's quote-unquote no position for you, you could find a way to implement them. And I think that's perfect with Miles Jack. I would personally want the Cowboys to sign him. I see Ryan Ray says, all I want is the Cowboys to re-sign Kirk and sign Wagner, and I'll be happy till the draft. I think the Cowboys are working to re-sign Jaron Kearse right now. I believe that deal will get done. Bobby Wagner may be too far out of their price range. But look, I think the Cowboys, if they can't afford Bobby Wagner, I would look at Miles Jack, right? And then the draft. When it comes to the Cowboys, I think it's fair to say that they're going to be drafting a receiver at least in the first 3 rounds, and then they either go offensive guard in the first round, or they're going to draft a guard and some.
But you just lost Williams and Lyle Collins, so
right?
that's
Lyle Collins isn't released yet. That's what it's trending.
Like, does losing Williams now lead to them sort of maybe hanging on to him? Because I know you also have Terence Steele who can play both guard and tackle. Is that right?
No, Lyle Collins can play both guard and tackle.
So Terence Steele is a guy.
Terence Steele is a good player, and he's very cheap. He's a right tackle. The coach staff loves him. He was an undrafted free agent just a few years ago, but he's worked hard. He's developed into a starting caliber right tackle. I personally think Lyle Collins is a fantastic player. I think we should kick him into guard because that's where he started his career in, and I think he's a fantastic guard there. I personally would do that if I was sort of running things in Dallas, but unfortunately I'm not. So I eventually see him getting moved. But look, offensive line and receiver, even linebacker, would be sort of the first 3 picks for the Cowboys if I had to guess. Supervision for getting cut in 2025 is when the Jaguars opportunity. Yes, I saw that, Dominic. I saw the Jaguars actually did a very good job with aligning the Christian Kirk deal with Trevor Lawrence's rookie contract. The Christian Kirk deal, if I remember correctly, is actually finished by the time Trevor Lawrence's rookie deal is up. So it's perfect in the sense that, okay, this is sort of they're going to be paying him, quote unquote, overpaying him for a little bit, but once Trevor Lawrence's new contract's going to kick in, he'll be off the books. So it sort of works out for salary cap purposes. Green for Texas A&M is a perfect fit in round 1. I agree. I love Kenyon Green. I think he's a very, very cool prospect. He's got immense potential. I even like Zion Johnson from Boston College as a sort of a guard prospect that's going to fall in the 20s range over there. Do the Packers have any chance of re-signing Adams? 100%. I think that's going to get a deal. It's going to happen. They're going to get a deal, and they're going to structure it properly to have his cap hit low this year, even next year, and then sort of backload it. Because the Packers are pretty much all in for the next 2-3 years, and then they're going to go through it'll be a pretty big rebuild once these contracts are on the books, right, in 4 years down the road.
I'm just excited, honestly, what they're going to do with Jordan Love. If we look at the Packers, to me, what the biggest surprise in all of this was the term on Aaron Rodgers' contract. It is a 4-year deal with 3 years guaranteed. So he's going to be there for the next 3 years, or they're going to be paying him to do so at least.
Absolutely.
So to me, now that is like, it's not a 1-year deal. If it was a 1-year deal, let's say maybe Davante Adams isn't as big of a priority. They'll sort of somehow convince him to play on that tag, and then after, they're just going to blow this whole thing up. But now that they have Rodgers for the next couple of years, I think that they should be definitely looking at signing him to a big long-term extension. But yeah, so many great questions in the chat so far. It's 11:39 right now. It's been a bit of a slow morning, would you say?
Slow morning. Yeah, there hasn't been any.
Hasn't been really anything big. So
knowing our luck, as soon as we get off at 12, there's going to be a Ram.
Probably, and honestly, I might even prefer that. It's nice when we're on the live. We don't have to.
Shout out Thomas Coburn.
Oh, Coburn's here. He says, did Charles Harris just sign?
Charles Harris just signed with the Lions.
Re-signed?
2 years, $14 million. Yeah.
Hey, that's some good. That's a Dolphins legend right there. And I've talked with Coburn a couple times about Charles Harris, just because Miami could have taken T.J. Watt.
Thomas Coburn, a co-host on From the Nosebleeds podcast that's on our YouTube channel, is the. I tell Coburn, I tell Pac every single time. Whenever I watch your podcast every week, there's at least 5 or 6 minutes where I am just laughing. I don't even know if you said something funny, but I'm just laughing at the way that you said it. I love the From the Nosebleeds podcast. If you guys aren't familiar with the content that we post on our YouTube, check out the From the Nosebleeds podcast. That's Thomas and Thomas Squared. That's the other show that we run on our YouTube on Thursdays, I believe it is, right? Yeah, Thursdays.
Yeah, usually
Thursdays, Friday. Browns release J.C. Shredder.
Poor guy. He just got reelected as NFLPA representative, and now he's going to be looking for a new team. That's again, I don't know. There were questions about the Browns that I briefly saw in the chat earlier, and I don't think we sort of gave them enough time that they deserve. Just because I think the AFC North is like, to me, I cannot get a read on what the Browns are.
Schefter just tweeted, the Falcons have emerged as a sleeper team to acquire Texans quarterback Deshaun Watson. League sources tell Mort Report and me. The Falcons join the Panthers, Saints, and Browns as teams that have met with or are interested in trading for Watson. More to come on ESPN. So that is a sort of new. It is a brand new report. So the Falcons have emerged as a sleeper team per Adam Schefter to land Deshaun Watson. Now, I wonder what you guys would think.
How does that make sense, though?
What do you think they would have to offer? I'm going to ask everyone and you as well. What do you think if Deshaun Watson were to go to Atlanta in a trade, what do you think Atlanta would have to offer for Deshaun Watson?
Well, first and foremost, Matt Ryan has a $48-something million cap hit. I'm not sure if they restructured that deal, but regardless,
and that is Steelers signed James Daniels. Now the news is picking up.
Now the news is picking up. Okay. Wow, Deshaun to the Falcons. There's a lot to unpack here. I don't know. That's just like, how are you going to get that done? How are you going to move off Matt Ryan and then acquire Deshaun Watson? Because Houston doesn't want anything to do with Matt Ryan, clearly. But you need to move that salary. They don't have a lot of leeway. They also don't have a lot of young players to give up. I mean, to me, if I'm Houston, I'm asking for A.J. Terrell, and I'm asking for a ton of first-round picks. And even then, it still seems like a tough thing to work around. Dominic Cirillo is asking, what is our schedule for doing these live streams? So for free agency week, just to update you guys, yesterday we did 8 to 10 at night. This morning was 9 to 12. And tomorrow we will be on from, I believe, 2:30 to 5. So if you want to tune in tomorrow, it's 2:30 p.m. Eastern time till 5. We will be on.
And the easiest way to know our schedule is subscribe and turn on the notifications.
There you go.
Right? Because if you miss when we post it, at least you'll be notified when we go live or post a video. That's the easiest way to do it. So I know it's a little bit of a plug there, but it's true. That's the best way to do it. If you're new to our YouTube channel, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, because we are planning a whole off season of cool, fun content over here. We'll continue to promote it on our Instagram, but it's something that it's sort of the new direction, what we want to start pumping. We want to do Instagram, YouTube. We want to sort of make CTB a household name in the entire social media field, real estate.
Yeah, Dominic's in there saying, how's that going to happen with 47 cap hit with Matt Ryan? That's the first thought that came to my mind, too. I don't understand, how Atlanta is going to get this done. So, to me, I'm still believing that the Panthers are still the leading horse in this race. I'll probably put the Saints secondary, and then the Browns and the Falcons are falling behind. But the fact that Schefter brings this in late, that they're a sleeper team, that scares me, and I think there maybe is some potential here that he ends up being an Atlanta Falcon. That would be good. Is Watson? Did he grow up in Georgia, or am I completely misinformed in that? Do you know?
I'm not sure.
I know he went to Clemson, and that's South Carolina, but who knows? Joseph Moore has just said Grady Jarrett in the chat. Is there any? Oh, maybe he's suggesting
Grady Jarrett could be
going the other
way. I mean, but he's on a big contract.
That's a thing, and like Houston would have to take some back the other way just because of how Atlanta's built. But if I'm Houston, do I want Grady Jarrett, who is past? Is he past his prime? Is he in his prime? I don't quite know. But to me, if I'm Houston, like, what do you gain from trading with the Atlanta Falcons?
Now, hypothetical, while I get this news report up, you guys are seeing the live making of a CTV post. But do you think the Falcons would part with Kyle Pitts to get Deshaun Watson? Because if they're going to do it, I hate to break it to if there's a Falcons fan in here, I think that's the only way that it gets done.
But I would do that in a second.
Yeah, I would too.
If I'm Houston and the main selling point of a Deshaun Watson trade, your franchise is Kyle Pitts and then a couple first-round picks, like, I think we need to teach the Houston Texans front office
it's out the NFC South, eh?
On the
NFC South, every team.
And who knows, if Brady didn't come back, maybe the Bucs would have been in on him too. So, I don't know. This is definitely a new development that started this morning, and it was literally maybe 30 seconds after I was saying how it's a slow morning. So there's that. Deshaun Watson linked with the Atlanta Falcons. Feels like to me he's going to be in the NFC South no matter what. I don't know. I still can't really wrap my head around the whole Cleveland Browns report. Uvaldo Chavez says, "What are the Raiders going to do?" I would look at Stephon Gilmore if I'm the Raiders. We spoke about it a little bit earlier.
They're linked with him, yes.
They're linked with him. But if you look at that division, the teams that you need to beat, the wide receivers that they have, the quarterbacks that they have, the Raiders' weak point is already their secondary. Look at Stephon Gilmore, maybe a Marcus Williams at safety, even Tyrann Mathieu. I think that contract is just going to be a little bit too much for them. But that's what I would do if I'm the Las Vegas Raiders. Ryan Ray asks, what could we see the Chiefs doing in free agency? Personally, I think the Chiefs are close to being done in terms of the moves they made. I love the Justin Reed move yesterday, but when you're as good as the Chiefs are, you don't really need to do a whole lot. Maybe add some depth on the defensive side of the ball. They restructured Frank Clark, more team-friendly, and yeah, that's it. Dom Strong, this is a cool question. How long does it take you to make your graphics for Instagram? Are you plugged in over there? You gotta turn your computer on and show the camera.
I am plugged in.
They're all templates pre-made for free agency that we work on.
And it's literally simple. We got a picture. Well, it depends. Yeah. News reports are pretty fast, but when it comes to like those fancy graphics, Thomas usually takes a fair share. I mean, if you guys, hey, I don't know if that's something that would interest you guys, but if you guys want to see, we can maybe do a video on that, like sort of behind the scenes thing. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, it doesn't take too long, but it's not like a crazy plug in and play thing. But I mean, I think we sacrifice some speed for some good looking graphics. I think you can agree with that.
Little update on Deshaun, place of birth, was born in Gainesville, Georgia. So there you go. That's
wow.
Somehow I had that feeling that could make it an even cooler landing spot. Dom also says, then Deshaun Watson's part of a whole new rebuild. And I agree. Like, if the Falcons get Deshaun Watson, they are not winning that division. No, they're not.
No.
So, I don't know. It's just, it's strange. I don't know. Grant Maloney's in here. What's going on? Grant's asking thoughts on the Cleveland Browns right now. Listen, I think the plan has to be go again with Baker, try it out for another year.
Yeah, it's got to be.
This was a team that had the Chiefs real close.
On the ropes.
Yeah, on the ropes. In the AFC divisional game. So you clearly have something that works. You have that that two-headed monster in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt that works out really well for you guys. So I don't know. I think the Chiefs, they have something that works. Keep at it. Give Baker one more shot. He was so hurt last year. It was just hard for him to do anything. But yeah, it's a great question because personally, if I'm looking at the AFC North, everyone's going to say the Bengals because they went on to the Super Bowl. But the Ravens are going to be better. The Browns are going to be better. Steelers are always going to be sort of hanging in there with Mitch Trubisky and that great defense. that I think we're in for a really interesting division. We got about 10 minutes left in this stream here, and then we're gonna probably head off for the day. So once again, guys, if you've been here this whole time, thank you so much for
it's been awesome. It's really been awesome, and if you guys like seeing this stuff, you guys let us know, right?
We can definitely do a lot more than we've been doing now. This was just more of a free agency plan.
24. We've had a good fair share of viewers, and all new viewers in here. If you haven't liked the video, please do that. It does help us. It helps us with the algorithm, YouTube algorithm, the best that I know. I mean, we're still quote unquote boomers with YouTube, but I know if you like the video, it helps us push it out. If you want to see more of it, that's also the easiest way to show us that you like this sort of content. So if you haven't liked the video, go ahead and like it. But do you guys believe the Dolphins made a mistake by not trading for Watson? I'll answer.
Phenomenal question.
It's a great
question.
Great question.
All along in this Watson saga, my feeling was like, listen, you used a high pick to draft Tua. Tua has not been bad at all. Like you can't sit here and tell me that Tua has been a bad quarterback. He doesn't have the flash that other guys have. Yeah, maybe he doesn't look like he's built to just carry an offense like a Herbert or a Mahomes does, but he's not bad. Like you can win with this guy. And we had this conversation yesterday about like how good of a quarterback do you need to truly, truly win in this league. I think the way Miami's built, the fact that Tua has had the worst offensive line in the NFL, put him with the Bengals in that. He's had subpar weapons his whole time in the NFL. No non-existent running game. Like he's really had not a lot to deal with, and he continues to win games. So I don't know. I think that did they make a mistake? Listen, it's tough to not go out and get a superstar quarterback, especially when he clearly wants to come to your organization. That being said, I will say this. What Miami would have to give up to go out and get Watson, maybe they're just better staying put, giving Tua a real chance, putting a great offensive line around him, giving him more weapons, finally giving him a run game. I think this Chase Edmonds signing is going to be a big deal for them and really help take their run game to the next level. So, yes, I think that Watson would definitely right away put Miami to being a contender. But I also believe in Mike McDaniel getting the best out of Tua and building an offense to his strengths. And I think Miami can win in that way too, without having to sacrifice all that draft capital.
I agree.
So I'm sort of sitting on the fence here. Obviously, time will tell. But I'm confident that Miami can win with the players they have in-house right now.
Look, guys, this Miami team was a team that's just missed the playoffs by a game
2 years
in a row, right? Look, I'm not the biggest Tua guy. I think Pot knows that. I don't know if Tua has the ceiling that a lot of these quarterbacks do. But at the end of the day, I think that you could have success with Tua. Like, you have Jalen Waddle, who's a fantastic player. Cedric Wilson's going to be a great receiver for that offense, too. Mike McDaniels is a brilliant head coach. And look, I think this season is perfect for what Miami needs to do. Because, look, if Tua is not the guy after this year, you have a perfect draft next year to move up for one of the top guys.
Exactly. And we have 2 first-round picks.
Exactly, right? And if he is, then you can use those 2 first-round picks to further invest in Tua.
Exactly.
So the Dolphins are in a good spot right now. And look, all eyes are on Tua right now. He's got to prove now with this new regime that, look, I'm the guy, you got to invest in me going forward. And I think that's perfect.
And that's another great question. I got one more question. If the Dolphins picked Herbert over Tua, would we have been going to the playoffs in these last few years? Listen, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Tua's outperformed Herbert because that's just insane to think that. I will say this. Justin Herbert is a phenomenal player. He would probably put us over the top in the sense that now we know from what we've seen that he is a better quarterback. But I don't think he would have had quite the same success in Los Angeles as he would have, if he were to be in Miami. Just because of the fact that the offensive line's been terrible. There's no it's a lot to put on a young quarterback if he were to come into Miami and do that. And I also don't think Tua really ever had the support of the front office, or not the front office, but the coaching staff in general. He had 4 offensive coordinators in 3 years. Like it's just been a disaster for him. So
there's some serious backing to this Falcon stuff. I'm reading up right now. I'll let you guys in of what I'm reading. So Albert Breer is talking about the Falcons, and he's saying that his hometown is right beside the Falcons practice facility in Flowery Branch, and Tyler Dragon is also reporting from USA Today. He's saying there's a lot of distractions in Atlanta, but I think the Falcons are a good fit for Deshaun Watson. It will bring a Michael Vick-like energy to that organization, which I do believe. I just don't know how they would pull it off.
That to me, that's the one big question, and it's not just how they would pull it off. Like, where are they? What's the expectation? If you're telling me right now the Falcons trade for Deshaun Watson, are they going to win? Like, I don't know. I think they're fighting for the playoffs, which is, hey, that's a good spot to be in, and you can build on that, especially with Deshaun Watson, he's a young quarterback.
Yes.
But to me, right now, the Falcons are rebuilding, and they got a quarterback who's 38 years old, who's slated to make $48 million next year against the cap. It's tough. It's a real tough situation. Matthew Machado says, I think the best fit for Deshaun Watson is still the Panthers. I agree with you on that one.
I think so too. I think the Panthers are going to be the place that he most likely ends up. Either that or the Saints. If I had to guess right now, if I was a betting man, unfortunately, I am a betting man and I like to lose a lot of money, so don't take my betting advice. But I got one more question. We already answered that one. I think the best fit would be the Watson. Yeah, where do you guys think Jimmy Garoppolo will possibly go? See, okay, Pac thinks the Colts. I like to lean the Colts as well, but
the thing is, if he doesn't go to the Colts, where's he going to play next year?
Right?
Like, to me, that just feels like the only spot left.
What about if the 49ers held out until, like, training camp until a team is very desperate?
But no team wants to do that because no team is going to be like, I honestly think if the Colts want Jimmy G and the 49ers saying we're not trading him, the Colts are just going to move on and go to their second option, whether that be whoever it is, Marcus Mariota maybe. Because you can't wait that. Like, there's so much that goes into building an offense around a quarterback. And, for example, like these players, maybe they don't come into the facility until July for training camp.
You're right.
The coaches are working every single day, building something. So I just don't think the Colts can wait that long. I don't know.
Do you have favorite teams? Yes. If you are listeners of our podcast, me and Pac, I'm a Cowboy fan. Pac is a Dolphins fan.
And I almost came with the Tua jersey today. I was going to wear it for the stream. I was even thinking about pulling out the old Jarvis Landry jersey, even though it's a little bit tight. But
But unfortunately, we both have pain-infused favorite teams. But I believe the Saints are better for Watson since they already have a really good running back and receiver plus maybe defense. Look, the Saints are a good fit too. Like the Saints are a team that if they get Deshaun Watson, they're also an immediate playoff contender. They're a good team. I just don't know if they have the ability to offer what Carolina could offer in a sense from picks and young players on cheap rookie contracts. I don't know if the Saints sort of have that, which is why I'm leaning towards the Panthers. Did Kamara get clear of any of those charges? I don't think anything's come from them yet. I believe it's end of March, his hearing, so it's got to be soon, maybe in a few weeks, probably 2 weeks. But yeah, that's sort of still yet to come out. I see a new report here. So the Eagles are out of the Juju Smith-Schuster race. He will not be a member of the Philadelphia Eagles, according to Jimmy Kempensky of the Philly Voice. I don't know if there's any Eagles fans, but apparently he's reporting that the Eagles are out of the Juju Smith-Schuster. He adds that the Eagles made a solid, quote-unquote, solid offer to Christian Kirk, but ultimately got outbid by Jacksonville, obviously.
Everyone got outbid by
$18 million a year.
For everybody.
Yeah, I think even Christian Kirk got out. Christian Kirk got outbid by himself. Have to put away my Amari Cooper jersey. Hey, Ryan, you want to know something crazy? My girlfriend bought me an Amari Cooper jersey for Valentine's Day last month. Yeah. And as soon as she bought it for me, I was like, I didn't want to tell her and break the poor girl's heart, but I was like, no, this is going to be the worst. This jersey is going to go straight to the garbage soon.
One of these episodes, or maybe a live stream, I have to bring my whole Dolphins jersey collection. If you feel bad about the Amari Cooper jersey, a fun stat about my jersey collecting with Miami is no player, and Tua is the first one to finally break this record, and even him still in limbo. No player I've ever owned their jersey for more than within the first year of me getting their jersey, that player's been traded. I had Brandon Marshall, Mike Wallace. There's an old name for you.
Mike Wallace
on Miami. I had him. Jarvis Landry. I then got Kenyon Drake and Minka Fitzpatrick around the same time, and both of them within I'm not even kidding, within months. Minka, I think, was weeks. traded, gone. And then now I finally got Tua. It's the first time I've ever
I
had
have a Minka jersey at my house. Minka Dolphins.
Yeah?
Yeah, my uncle got it for me because he bought it for himself, and then he's like, yo, I got this, so I gave it to me. Did he wear it on my podcast? Like, oh, maybe one day I'll surprise Pac with it. Yeah, we should, I know.
We got to bring them. We got to bring them out.
For sure.
Huge Dolphins fan as well. Shout out to you. And hey, I'm hopeful for a better season for us this year. I'm a huge Tua believer. I know a lot. It's a sensitive topic with a lot of Dolphins fans. Some people are a little less patient, and I understand why. I mean, obviously, I never got to see the Marino
There's
days,
nothing wrong.
There's
nothing wrong with wanting success. I mean, that's the whole point of being a fan of an NFL team, right?
All right. Well, a couple last questions. So if you have any last questions, get them in.
Thoughts on Drake London? I like Drake London. I think Drake London's a good prospect. I just don't know if that's the direction that the NFL. I think the NFL is sort of shying away from those big type, less athletic receivers like Mike Evans. You don't really see them come around too often. But Drake London is a good receiver. He's a. I don't want to say he's the receiver one in the draft class, but he's definitely up there, right? We saw him dominate at USC. He's been fantastic there, very consistent player. I think in the right spot he could thrive. Don't get a waddle.
Yeah,
don't get a waddle.
No, honestly, Troy, I listen. I care about the Dolphins, so maybe it's in my best interest. Even though, and this is not Jalen Waddle, but to me, and we are Canadian. If you guys didn't know that, Javon Holland is like. To me, that's the new star on Miami's defense.
Yes, Javon Holland, who's actually a friend of ours.
Yeah,
he's a very cool guy.
The fact that he wears number 8 too is I just think the single digits is so cool. So that's a jersey I have on my list. But I don't know. I'm cautious because I know my trading history. Dom, love the live stream guys. Definitely tuning in.
Thank you, Dom.
Sure. We
thank you for staying.
That.
You've been here the whole time. I appreciate that. Again, everyone, we're gonna probably head off within the next minute or so, but. We appreciate you guys all for tuning in today. It was awesome. We're going to be back here 2:30 tomorrow. Sort of recap some more news. I see we're at 39 likes. So if someone wants to be the 40th like, we'll give them a shout out here. We'll if you want to.
How are you going to click the like button? You can't see that.
Yeah, they're just going to like it and they're going to say like the video, and then that'll shout out the first person. We're at 39 likes. So if someone wants to like it, get to 40. We'll I'll be a happy camper today, or else I'm going to be making mac and cheese. I'm going to be making mac and cheese for lunch, all sad. But I mean, it was fun. Like, hey, another Canadian shout out, Troy, Canadian here also.
Troy, what part of Canada are you from? It's a great way to end off the stream. We're from we're close to Toronto. We live in Vaughan, a little north of Toronto, if you know where that is. But yeah, it's thank you everyone who tuned in today. It's been a lot of fun to talk and answer all your questions in the chat. Reminder, if you're interested in coming by tomorrow, 2:30 to 5, we will be live. And that's also cool because I believe at 3 or 4 becomes when free agency officially opens and all the signings become official.
Yes, so. Correct. Right, and just to round off the stream, Andrew Whitworth officially retired.
Yeah. And Tomaso put that in the chat. Thanks for the update there.
Yes.
Last second thoughts on Hawks rebuilding or not? I think a rebuild's in the cards for the Seahawks.
Yes, 100%.
Sorry to say that.
100%.
But anyways.
Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
I got to give one shout out to TFW Squad because he feels he felt ignored. We're sorry. There were a lot of questions. We couldn't get to them all. But if you tune in tomorrow, we'll definitely get to a ton of your questions. I know you've been here for a while.
Oh yeah. So, look, it's our first time actually live streaming, so it's hard to navigate the chat. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for listening. And we'll make sure to get more of your questions tomorrow. We really appreciate you sticking around. And everyone.
We'll answer your question. If you come into the stream tomorrow with all your questions, we'll spend however long you need. We'll answer all your questions. We apologize for ignoring you. That's not intentional. It's just very hard to navigate the chat. This being our second time live streaming, right? Being able to talk and then. Sometimes different points take a little longer than usually. He's about an hour and 25 from Vaughan. In London, yeah. Shout out Mustangs. Great place to party.
The Western Mustangs?
Great place to party.
All right, guys. Boys. That's going to be it for today. Thank you to everyone who tuned in. Keep up. We'll be posting on Instagram all day if you want to keep up with the NFL news so you can see us.